Shit off me. What's going on, baby? Everything all right? Wednesday night. Can you believe this shit, Lee?
I cannot.
A couple of years, we had a conversation, and we started getting up at 6 in the morning.
I remember driving to your house after my night shift. I'd go home and I'd pick up my backpack with my laptop in it, and we used to. First, we did it in your office, and then when your wife got pregnant, we moved out into the living room, and we had to have a little plastic tub over it because your cats would be on the mixer.
Can you believe that shit?
And now we've been in 2 offices, and it's crazy.
Just remember one thing: never forget where you came from.
No.
I know.
Bruce Buff, what's happening, baby?
Hey, I'm here, and a pleasure to be here, Joey.
Thank you very much for coming in for the
You know, I love you like a brother, and the idea of being on your 200th show, I take that as a major compliment. That's very cool.
I was waiting for a while, and it was funny because it's amazing how I've dealt with both the Buffers for at least 15 years.
Yeah.
In different circles, through movies, grudge match. I think he did something with The Longest Yard. He was at one of the parties. It's amazing. It really is just how the Buffers pop up everywhere. You're like Puerto Ricans. You're everywhere.
Considering the fact well, I'm Italian. Maybe there's a slight similarity. I don't know. I think you have a better right hook than most of us. But, Michael and I meeting 25 years ago, and then for all the 6 degrees of separation that we created in that last 20 years that I've been managing his career, I'm just mind-boggled. I'm humbled every time I think about it.
Now, where'd you grow up?
I was dropped off. I was conceived in Vegas. I was dropped off in Oklahoma on the 21st, which is my lucky number. It's probably why I like to play blackjack. Then I was there for 9 months, and we moved to Dallas, Texas. So real easily, between the age of 1 and 15, I spent half my life in Philadelphia, where my family's all born and from. So I call Philadelphia my hometown. And I spent it in Dallas. And then at 15, we moved to Malibu, which was like culture shock. I'm 15, my hormones are flying. I see blonde girls I've never seen before. All I want to do is lose my virginity and learn how to surf. And I learned how to surf first. I became a lifeguard, Baywatch before Baywatch. And it was an incredible experience growing up in Malibu. Tough experience, actually, believe it or not.
Who did you go to high school with?
Yeah. Went to high school with Dan Blocker's son, who went on to do some work. Went to with not Heather Locklear, but remember the Fall Guy with
Yeah.
Heather? What was her name? But she was, every time she walked through the quad, everybody would stop and stare at her ass. I mean, this girl stopped traffic, right? It was crazy. And she went on to have a nice little career and then a nice little cocaine addiction. Hopefully she came out of that okay, but she did well from there. And there were a couple other well-known people that came out of Samuel High, some politicians. I'd have to think for a second, but I'm not sure. And then, of course, hopefully I have something to bring to Samuel High. I don't know.
I'm going to ask you quite a lot of questions tonight.
You got
first being, where the fuck is Malibu? That's how retarded I am.
Are you serious?
Malibu's the beach, and up, where's Malibu? Like when I go down to Panga Canyon, where is Malibu?
All right, if you go down to Panga Canyon and you turn right, you're in Malibu.
Where's the high school? Like Dean Kane's from Malibu,
okay.
Right?
Dean, I'll tell you a funny story about Dean Kane.
And all you guys are from Malibu.
Yeah, I know Dean because my girlfriend, Kim, at the time, Dean started dating her after I started dating her, and then Dean and I almost got in a big fight at a party at Malibu West Beach Club one night when one of his cronies got cocky with me, and my buddy and I called them all out, and that got stopped real quick. And Dean and I still talk about it today because Dean and I are friends. He's a great guy. Very cool man. But Malibu High, basically, there was no high school in Malibu. Back then, it was junior high, and it was across from Zuma Beach, which today is the Malibu High School. In those days, because of the politics, they didn't want to have to bus in people from the city, probably the ethnic groups. So instead, we all got bused to Santa Monica High School. Now, I grew up in Philadelphia, and my school was 60, 70% black that I was going to, and I got along with everybody. I mean, I grew up, I'm fine. But a lot of these kids, they go to Santa Monica High and suddenly they get stood up by, one of the Mexican gang members or, somebody else, and they go through their experiences. They weren't used to being in a multi-ethnic arena. So Santa Monica High was a great experience too. That was very cool. But now their high school is in Malibu.
To get off the subject, I just recently, it was funny, I did the Fight Companion with Joe, and I was goofing on Atlantic City, and I kept goofing on Buff. I go, Buff is the only motherfucker they sent. even Dana White's scared of Atlantic City, because Atlantic City is no fucking joke.
You walk into the hotel, you're dead.
When you check into that whatever, they tell you as a comedian, don't leave the hotel at night.
Is that bad?
I'm not fucking around with nobody. When I tell you people, they tell you at the hotel. Like when you check in, they're like, you don't leave the hotel at night. Like you just don't do it.
Isn't it like a boardwalk?
Well,
like
the boardwalk is there, but if you go outside the hotel into the street,
go
stand on the corner for 15 minutes.
Oh my god!
Jeez, because I grew up in Boston, and I came here when I was right around 21, 22, so I could never go there, so I never experienced it.
When I did Joe's last time, he spoke about Camden, how Camden's having a big problem right now. Let me tell you something. They're having a problem now. When I was growing up, that area was real. Pensauken. Where's Jack Nicholson from? I forget the name of that town down there.
IMDb time.
Neptune, New Jersey. We played bitty basketball at Neptune, New Jersey one time. South Jersey, Philadelphia is no fucking joke. I don't want none of you people thinking that like I said, for years at that Eagle Stadium, they had a courtroom and a jail downstairs to process you during the fucking games. Even crazier than Boston, crazier than New York fans. So it still magnifies. So I can't even imagine you leaving that area at that time.
I grew up in Germantown, Pennsylvania, and Cheltenham Township, and my brother and I my brother Brian, who I grew up with, I would never allow my kid to do this today, but when we were like 8 and 10, we would take the train or the bus and go to downtown Philly, walk through the bad areas. We go to the Franklin Institute, we go to the museum, we go see a movie, have lunch, and we wound up getting home about 3:30, 4 o'clock. And that was great teaching for us as kids because we had no fear as a result of doing all that. I would never let my kid do that today. No way. Never.
I don't even think about it. Like, I could never let Mercy go to a bad neighborhood in my mind. But, what are you gonna... Hey, listen, for years when I was growing up, my mom said, don't cross... Because when I came from Cuba, we lived on 205 West 88th Street. And her biggest fear was Broadway.
Really?
Right in New York, she'd say, don't fucking cross Broadway. Well, as soon as I went out that front and her head popped in, I crossed fucking Broadway. That's what you do. Once you cross Broadway in New York City, your life changes. It's like getting your dick sucked by a midget. You're never the same. You're never the same again. You know what I'm saying? Little midget gives you a little sukkah mink with that big head. You're never the same. You go home, you have nightmares for a month.
They got strong hands, too.
Yeah, they got... I know, I got to call them little people. Fuck that. They're fucking midgets, all right? What do I give a fuck? Anyway, so now you're in Malibu. Because I always go to Malibu. I did 5 Christmas movies with Dean Cain. And a fucking dog. Yeah, for ABC Family. The dog.
Isn't Dean a great guy?
Dean's a great guy.
Yeah.
And to listen to his stories, like, he grew up with Sean Penn down the corner. Like
Same,
shit like that, right? Like,
but that's the way it was for me, too. On Point Doom was Sean Penn, was Charlie Sheen, was Rob Lowe and his brother Chad Lowe. And I had Steve McQueen, who was my friend, living a half mile away from me. And I surfed every day in front of his house. His son and I are still best friends. When I moved to Malibu back then, we weren't rich. We've never been a rich family.
You didn't need to be rich in those days.
No, you didn't. The rich people lived at the beach, which was your celebrities, your movie stars, and all that. In the canyon, I lived a half mile from the beach in Trancas Canyon, a beautiful home. Cost like $50,000 back then. Today it'll cost you a couple million, of course, because everything's gone nuts. But it's a different world back then. Malibu is still beautiful and spacious, but it's not like it was back then. I thought it was. Maybe I'm getting older. I just loved it back then. I loved it when it was more of a countryside. Everybody knew everybody. There was 35,000 people that lived there. No, 27,000 people lived there when I moved there. So the population's increased exponentially larger.
I did I watched an interview with that dude who played and analyzed that, the little Italian dude.
In what movie?
Analyzed that, the one I did the second one.
In
those days I was doing sequels. I did all the bad fucking sequels. But I did analyze that. And he was in, and I did analyze that too, and he was in the one and the second one, and his name was something Vitarelli.
Joe Vitarelli.
Joe Vitarelli did a thing that he left Brooklyn and retired in Malibu, and his neighbor was Sean Penn.
Then he lived on Point Doom.
Is that true?
Yeah.
And Sean Penn used to torture him and say, hey, when are you going to do one of my movies? And he go, stop it. And finally one day he goes, listen, I ain't fucking around. I need you for this movie. It was State of Grace. State of Grace is
great movie.
Great fucking movie, dog. Nobody's ever seen Gary Oldman in that. All you dumb fucks that are watching Gary Oldman and Iron Man and
True Romance.
And he wasn't bad in True Romance.
He was great.
But now go see him in Planet of the Apes and
he was one of the baddest mofos
Dracula,
you could ever have.
Dracula, fucking The Professional, when he eats a pill and does that shit with his fucking neck. But one of his craziest movies that nobody talks about is a film by the name of Romeo is Bleeding.
Oh my God! What was her name? The woman that she's gorgeous, sexy as hell.
Look at her name. That is one of the craziest fucking movies you will see. I'll tell you what, your Uncle Joey Diaz will tell you, don't watch that movie at night. That's how crazy. And it's a fucking mafia movie. It's like a mob a hitman, cops in New York.
Juliette Lewis,
Read the fuck no.
No.
Read the fucking IMDb. Who's in that movie?
Gary Oldman, Juliette Lewis, David Proval, Will Patton, Gene Canfield, Larry Joshua, Lena Olin,
Yes, Lena Olin. Yeah,
and James Cromwell.
but Lena Olin.
Who else? Dennis Farina. Oh yeah, it's
They're not even on the first page. Though.
yeah. No. That movie doesn't fucking end. That scene in the hotel room. Lena Olin plays a fucking hitman.
Hit woman.
A hit woman.
Yeah.
It is one of the craziest movies you will watch.
And she's sexy
As
as
fuck.
fuck. Yeah, exactly. I got to say it with you, Joey. Sexy as fuck. I mean, you look at her, and you might
I
have.
gotta watch that fucking Romeo's Bleed.
They don't play it on TV.
They
It's
don't
one of my
need-
favorite
no,
movies.
because it's too deep. It's too. They never played that shit on TV. I think I saw it in the fucking movies, and then I saw it years ago. It was on like Sundance one night after The Exorcist at 3:35 a.m. And I taped it and I watched it 2 or 3 times. And my wife was like, "What the fuck are we watching?" He was married to the chick, the Italian chick that Tony was fucking on The Sopranos. That she hung herself. And The Sopranos.
Wow, my mind.
Oh my God, that's who he was married to, Anne Maria Scribella, whatever her fucking name is, and he had
Annabelle Sciorra.
Oh, the little
Sciorra.
brunette. She's a
dog.
yeah,
And he
yeah.
had what he was a cop, and he had a hole in the backyard, and he kept saying, "I'm feeding the fucking hole," and he put money in the hole every night that he stole and he shook people down for, and he just kept putting money in the hole. And she left him, but he had to deal with this hit woman, and this hit woman cleaned some clocks on the Upper West Side. She killed Dennis Farina. They were playing cards. Just fucking. If you get a chance, Romeo's Bleeding. That's your little present for the 200th episode.
You know, my dad was a writer, and he said there's basically 15 plots and 150 ways to tell each story, barring any historical reference. But there are standouts, of which this is one, which is not a typical plot that's been told. This is an extremely unique film, and if you're a film buff or you want to see something, I'm telling you right now, you got to listen to Joey. See this movie.
I remember that it opens up with they're both bleeding in a car. That's how the movie opens up.
Because it goes backward.
It goes backwards. So it's this scene where they're driving and he's like, "Help, help." And she's been shot and he's been fucking shot. And they're driving, cutting people off, and there's blood everywhere. And you're like, what the fuck? And all of a sudden it shows them like getting married, eating Chinese food. So it's one of those fucking...
And remember she had one arm? What was the thing in that?
Oh my God.
You remember that?
That's right.
Yeah.
No, this is fucking crazy.
It's crazy. It's so far out there.
Fucking crazy. And I always forget to talk about it, to check it out with fucking Rick. Rick, that's a great movie. Gary Oldman, Dracula. Everybody says, if you take a poll, that Gary Oldman's Dracula is the best Dracula ever made. Fact or fiction?
If you can cut Keanu Reeves out of the movie, yes, it was. Keanu Reeves is probably the worst thing in the movie. And I'm a Keanu Reeves fan. I mean, give me Point Break every day, any day of the week. But, yeah, he was menacing in that.
How fucking good is Point Break?
I could watch it
How
every
good is
seriously.
the guy that died in Point Break?
Swayze?
Swayze
I grew up with the Bodies of this world. I grew up with the Swayze characters. These were my bros when I was growing up. Everything in that movie I related to, except the bank robberies, of course. But, I mean, they were nuts. Surfers are nuts. Believe me, a whole different ilk all to themselves.
Really?
Real surfers. I'm talking not I like to surf. I'm talking a real surfer. They eat, live, and breathe surfing. It's a whole different society.
And these guys would rob and go hit different beaches to get the...
Yeah, well, remember that's how they found it in Point Break,
right.
because Gary Busey, who was, and speaking of Malibu, Gary Busey was my neighbor next door for 8 years during the Buddy Holly days. I used to party with him down at Trancas, with him, Michael Parks, David Carradine. The Lows would come down when they became of age. I mean, you name it. Anybody lived in Malibu, party this place called Trancas. It was the hot spot. I mean, we got in brawls there. We got drunk there. We did everything you can imagine there. That you don't have anything like that in Malibu anymore. That's when Malibu was a little more quieter, but it could be wilder.
Now, what's the stuff about McQueen you were talking about? Because
What?
that's one of my dogs to the fucking end. That's...
I write about it in my book, and thank you, Joey. You read my book, and really appreciate the words you gave me on it. But I had the pleasure of meeting Steve, because when I moved to Malibu, I became friends with Chad McQueen, his son, and we became best friends. And I first met Steve when he walked up with Ally McGraw to his house. It was right after they finished making The Getaway, and they had that really highly profile romance, when he
How
left.
hot was she?
Hotter than hot.
When he smacks her in the fucking face by the station wagon.
Which he really did.
He really fucking belted her.
He belted her.
Watch the scene. We put it on.
What should I put in?
The Getaway.
The Getaway.
Steve McQueen, Ally McGraw. The smack in the fucking mouth.
Sam Peckinpah film, one of my favorite directors.
I remember seeing that in the movie theater. The Cinema movie theater in Unison, New Jersey. As long as you had the money, then you check your ID. And I remember going to see that movie, and Steve McQueen fucking destroyed me.
Mr. Cool.
Just destroyed me in that movie. And I got to tell you something. I'm not one for big remakes. The one that they remade
with Alec Baldwin.
The reason today why I like Alec Baldwin is because of the scene in that movie.
Which one?
When he's in jail and Kim Basinger comes to see him.
He's in the Mexican jail in the beginning.
He's in the Mexican jail, and he says to her, blah, 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 and they're talking. And she's like, yeah, I wanted to see my brother, spend some time with the kids. And in one of those sentences, he goes, can you do me a favor? Can you get me out of here? Can you really? And unless you've been on that side and you've asked somebody to get you out, his tone. There's a tone you use. Mm-hmm. Because they're going to come in and say, when people come visit you in jail, when you've made bail, they come in, they check you out, and then they ask what happened. And now you got to tell them a story, and they start crying, and you start crying, and then they're trying to tell you how they're trying to put money together or, whatever. But the way he cleared the story, the way he cleared the air, and he goes, can you get me out? Can you do that for me? Can you do that for me? That was just perfect.
Well, you know what? He was perfect casting because stepping into McQueen's shoes, redoing that. For those of us that saw the original Getaway, I used to argue about sequels because I thought, why the hell are they making this movie? I've seen this a million times, but I forget about the fact there's younger generations that don't see what we see. But as far as Steve is concerned, he walked into the house. He said, hi, how are you? We chatted for a bit. He said, you're always welcome here. Just call first. And he would give a party when he first moved into the house. And what he did was he would take little $5 and $10 bills and $1 bills, and he'd stick them underneath things throughout the house. And he'd sit back, and anybody that bothered to take the dollar bill, he would never invite back to his house. He didn't trust anybody. And he was just a wild character. He'd come down on the beach with a 6-pack of beer and tell us stories. And I remember when he did the Towering Inferno, and I said, hey, should I go see it? Is it good? He goes, no, I just did it for the money. Don't waste your money on that film. It's like he was just...
I went to see that in the movie.
It was... It's dated now, but it was fun.
I had like an all-star cast.
Well, it was back in the days of the disaster movies, Airplane, and then... Not
it
Airplane, the comedy.
Poseidon Adventure.
Poseidon Adventure, yeah.
Started with Poseidon Adventure, then the one that shook. They did a fake earthquake movie. Earthquake, yeah. And then it was 3D in the movie theater, so the speakers are so loud, people would come out and, oh my God, it shook, get the fuck out of here. The fucking speakers were loud, you dummy. These fucking moments. There was no fucking like HD, nothing. They just put the fucking thing to 20, and everybody in the movie theater was like, oh my God, it shook. Didn't shake.
I'll tell you another thing about Steve, not just, we can get off him in a second, but he was a very tough guy.
Right.
Bruce Lee would come over and train him. I never got a chance to meet Bruce. I met him after that thing, but he still has the plaque. Chad still has the plaque that Bruce Lee awarded him a ranking in Jeet Kune Do, and it's probably Steve McQueen's stuff is going for ridiculous money right now. I'll give you an example. Let me not get too far ahead of myself. He would have Chuck Norris come over, and Chuck Norris, and he'd either go train with Chuck at his dojo, or Chuck would train at the house. And Steve would spar. He would get in there and get nasty. They wasn't like casual EPOM point sparring. They would spar. Because I used to train with Pat Johnson, who did all the choreography for Live and Die in L.A. and Mutant Ninja Turtles and all that.
Excuse me. Another movie that they've been playing lately.
Which one?
To Live and Die in L.A.
It's a good movie.
At 7 o'clock every night. To Live and Die in L.A. Tremendous movie.
Tremendous movie.
Listen, guys, Uncle Joey isn't a fucking joke thief. But if he hears something that's brilliant, he drops it. There's a scene, again, John Turturro is the smuggler for the money. Who's the fucking printer? To Live and Die in L.A.
Willem Dafoe.
To Live and Die in L.A. is one of the greatest fucking stories ever told that America. If they should remake a movie, that's a movie that needs to be ranked. The only problem is they'll fuck it up.
They'll
fuck it up like they fucked up the mechanic. They took away the patois from the mechanic. Charles Bronson was a 51-year-old hitman. That was the patois. There was nothing to blow up. He was killing you the old-fashioned way. He would go in your files and see if you had a heart problem, and then he'd light the house on fire, so you had to run out in the middle of the night. You'd die of a heart attack. Stupid shit. You understand me? They fucked it up. But To Live and Die in L.A. is about counterfeiting. You ever see a movie about counterfeiting, Lee?
No.
Never. They don't even make them because the government don't have a fucking shit But these motherfuckers put together a movie with who's the printer?
Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe, and the guy from CSI, the original guy, is the cop, and he's amazing.
And he was also in the first Hannibal Lecter film called Manhunt.
Manhunt,
Yeah.
and he's also in Thief with James Caan
Right.
at the bar. He's the one that
Yep.
grabs James Caan, and James Caan shows him his gun, and he backs off. Who do you fucking think you're dealing with?
Probably the most bow-legged actor in Hollywood.
The bow-legged motherfucker, and then To Live and Die in L.A., he's very bow-legged.
He's fast, though.
He's,
He was
he's
moving.
fast as shit. It's about counterfeiting. Fucking tremendous. The music is tremendous.
And good. It's sexy, too.
Sexy as shit. I'm telling you, it's been on, I don't know what station it's been on, but me and my wife watched it, and I taped it and watched it one night, and I go, how many times am I going to watch
Just
it?
do a search, everybody. Do a search and watch this movie. It's
John
good.
Turturro, when he comes to visit him in jail, as he's leaving, he goes, try to get you out. And he goes, yeah. Hey, don't forget about me. That's why I get that line from him. He goes, don't forget about me. He goes, don't forget about me. He goes, I'm going to get you out, and I promise not to come in your mouth. Fucking tremendous couple. John Turturro is another great one.
And Willem Dafoe
And Willem Dafoe dropped
menacing as the bad guy.
Tremendous.
So on the thing with Steve, though, aside from all his enjoyment of martial arts and stuff like that, and that's partially the reason I got into Tang Soo Do, which was Chuck Norris's first fighting style out of the Air Force in Korea, was due to that. The emphasis I got back then, because Tang Soo Do was a big thing back in Malibu. There was a lot of martial arts back in Malibu. All we did was surf, do martial arts, spar, and fight. We had a great time. And another F word that I don't want to say, I'll let you say it.
Fuck.
Yeah. So Steve had tons of motorcycles and cars, and it would blow you away. And when he passed away, the family, Chad, they sold it off to pay a lot of the estate taxes. And I'm talking when he had an airplane hangar in Santa Paula with over 100 motorcycles, 2 double-winged airplanes, toys and artifacts. And I'm a big collector of memorabilia. Toys and artifacts from Buck Rogers, you name it. Anyway, they sold off a bunch. They got like $15 million back then. Now they're selling his stuff, and it's going for ridiculous prices. In the movie he made, the race movie, it's escaping my mind right now. Le Mans, which he put a lot of his own money into. It almost broke him. But the fire suit he wore underneath the racing suit just sold for $800,000. The watch he wore, which is Tag Heuer, just sold for $850,000. Right now, they're selling his 1967 Ferrari 275 GTB. They expect to go for $8 to $12 million because it belonged to him. They just sold another Ferrari that sold for $6 or $7 million. The actual value on the Ferrari was only around $2, give or take. But because it belonged to Steve McQueen and the provenance that went with it, it's going for ridiculous money. His glasses in the Thomas Crown affair, the blue Persols that he wore, which Persol made a Steve McQueen model of. You can buy in the Persol store today.
Damn!
Sold for $35,000 in a recent auction, right here in L.A. It wasn't by Chad. It was by his ex-wife who put up the stuff, named Barbara Minty, the last wife he was with when he passed away. But nobody knows this. I know this, and Chad knows this. When you walked in his house, there was a wicker basket beside the front door. There were 12 pairs of sunglasses. They were all the same in there. So they were not the original glasses that were in the Thomas Crown affair, as far as Chad and I could figure out. But somebody still paid $35,000 for the sunglasses because he wore them. It's crazy. So, it's just amazing. Memorabilia is a big thing.
Nobody in this country really, right now, remembers Steve McQueen.
If you're 40 and under...
And they give him the respect, unless you're a fucking movie buff or a tough guy buff. And when I came from Cuba, it was Charles Bronson, Steve McQueen, and James Coburn. Clint Eastwood was starting to bust in the scene, but those are the first 3 gangsters I remember. Remember the Valachi Papers? Mm-hmm. That's the first Charles Bronson movie I seen. Then I saw right away Death Wish. Then he started, after that.
Remember one of his first films was Vincent Price called House of Wax.
I don't remember that.
House of Wax.
I don't remember that. I was too young.
They remade it, but it was the original.
And then...
look who died last week, one of the greats, James Garner.
James Garner, yeah.
Yeah, fabulous actor.
But he was... What was the show he had?
Rockford Files.
No, before that, he had a show. Oh, shit.
Which one?
That Bruce Lee appeared on. How's that one for you?
That was Bruce Lee's first TV appearance.
Yes, it was. Who the fuck you think you're dealing with here?
Time to IMDb Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee's first fucking TV appearance. It's funny if you know anything about that. There's a book out that I probably read.
Conflict? Cheyenne?
No.
Sugarfoot?
No, TV, not film.
Angel? Yeah, I'm looking at TV series. Maverick?
No.
What year was it, do you think?
Right after Maverick.
You'd probably be better looking at Bruce Lee's IMDb.
Nichols?
No.
Okay, I'll look at Bruce Lee's.
There's a book out. I read it in Boulder. In 1986, I read it in Boulder before I got locked up. And it was a book. It was basically about Bruce Lee, but it described a chapter about Steve McQueen and Bruce Lee's relationship. I'm 51 years old, you know, and about a year ago I joined jiu-jitsu. I've been kickboxing and karate all my life and all that shit. And last year I said, that's it. I'm sick of striking. I want to do something different. If I'm going to stand up, I want to start thinking. Right. From the videos I see of jiu-jitsu, you got to... Now, I hang around great jiu-jitsu guys. Yeah. And it took me all these years to finally go in, and I love it. And I'm pissed now that I didn't get into it when I was 21.
I'm pissed too because it was all
furious.
About, it was
I'm
all
furious.
about being Bruce Lee and
right.
Chuck Norris when I was a kid.
And that's, listen, when I came from Cuba, there's a What's Happening on Ari thing where I talk about, you know, before, when I was a kid, Chinese people walked around with their head down. Bruce Lee came along. He was the sponsor for all immigrants, and I was an immigrant. So now we had a fucking spokesman. When Bruce Lee came into the fucking thing, this was not a white dude anymore. This was a Chinese dude. I was Cuban. I qualified. Cuban, Chinese were immigrants. Something about Bruce Lee gave us hope. Gave me hope as a kid. And so I read everything about him. To this day, I'm a big Bruce Lee guy. But one of the things that said that, you know, at the end of the day, Steve McQueen loved Bruce Lee for what he stood for. He wanted to be Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee wanted to be Steve McQueen. They each had what they really wanted deep inside. Like to Steve McQueen, when you're an actor of that level, you're like, don't go see that fucking movie. You know, they know at what point they're like, it's all over. I'm just doing it now for a paycheck. But, you know, at that point, that's what the martial arts was kind of keeping him alive. If you watch, they say that people who really knew, they say that McQueen really walked Bruce Lee through the Chinese connection.
Well, his advice to Bruce Lee was the same as what he used to give Chuck Norris, was that, you know, acting is all about, it's not what you say, it's the face, it's the reactions. It's, you know, if you look at Steve McQueen in every film he made, even down to when he was with Yul Brynner in The Magnificent Seven, and they're on top of the stagecoach as they're riding up to Boot Hill, you know, when he was riding shotgun. And Brynner's talking, and Steve's like shaking shotgun shells and putting him in, doing everything to steal the scene. He used to drive Yul Brynner crazy, right? But he was really big on that. It wasn't all about how much dialogue I got. It's how much I can get across in my face and my movements, you know?
I did Arliss with James Glover.
I love that show.
And he was telling stories about when he was in The Magnificent Seven, how they hated Yul Brynner.
Everybody
The
did.
deal was to steal the movie from Yul Brynner.
There you go.
Who the fuck was this fucking dude who danced with pants on to come from some foreign country and steal this movie from us? So they all got together. So I guess they put him up in a hotel somewhere in Santa Monica Boulevard by in Hollywood, West Hollywood. And McQueen, Coburn, and George C. Scott was a boozer. He wasn't in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
But he was there with them. Would get hammered, and they call Yul Brynner's room all night. You fucking dancing, and hang up on him and shit. And the next day, he come on the set. Somebody kept fucking calling my room all night. You know, because they didn't want him to steal the movie. You know, I love all those old time stories.
Well, you know, I love the old time stories because I love the old time actors. I mean, today Hollywood. I mean, you got idiots. Excuse me. You know, sex taping a fat ass like Kim Kardashian that become famous. I mean, I'm into talent. You know, and in those days, people train, and in the Hollywood machine, when you work for a studio, you did everything. You learned how to dance, you learned how to sing, you learned how to act. You did everything. You know, and it was a machine that built movie stars. And today, people become famous on TV for nothing. You know, and they equate themselves to major stars. I don't, personally. But like yourself, you've met a lot of actors, and you work around a lot of actors. You probably know the first rule is you don't always believe what you see on screen.
Right, yeah.
You know, it's not the
oh
just
my
don't.
God.
I'm trying to say it in a nice way.
Right, yeah.
But McQueen was, you know what McQueen really changed was the Thomas Crown affair. That was a true acting performance of him to dress up like that and to do all that stuff. Otherwise, he hung out with stuntmen. He rode motorcycles every friggin' day. He couldn't stand the whole Hollywood lifestyle, you know, beyond the women. And he's just a real guy, you know, which I respect.
Wow, fucking Malibu. The fuck, Lee? You don't even know who Steve McQueen is.
I know who he is.
You ever see Papillon?
No. Well, I can know who he is. I haven't seen everything.
You ever see Bullet?
No.
Which created the greatest. That created all the car chase scenes in film.
I saw the chase from Bullet. We didn't watch the movie.
Here's a thing for you, Joey. The jacket that he wears in the poster for Bullet which was a basic tweed sport coat, right? It's valued at $800,000. Chad has it. They put it up for auction. The bidding went up to $720,000. It didn't meet the reserve, so it didn't sell. But somebody bid up to $720,000 for a sports coat because Steve wore it. Steve gave me one of his sports coats when I was a kid. I threw it away. I'm ready to go bada bing. You know, it's like, what did I do that for? But it wasn't in a movie. But you know, I have a poster of the Thomas Crown Affair that they gave me that hung in his house that I still have hanging in my house. You know, that's going nowhere. And you remember the kissing scene with Faye Dunaway in the Thomas Crown Affair?
Yes.
The 360-degree camera angle they used, which, think about what he created. I mean, okay, Travolta got Western dancing off the ground and disco dancing off the ground. McQueen, that screen kiss changed screen kissing. Kissing became different after that. The car chase scene in Bullet changed the way car chase scenes were made after that. You know, then it went on to the French Connection, which took it to another level, and then another level, you know, and now we have Fast and Furious and TGI changing everything, which I am and am not a fan of.
It's amazing how the French Connection was my first taste of real movie.
Gritty.
And the only reason, like, I fought tooth and nail, I was going to go watch that. And I was maybe 6 when that movie came out. And the commercial was the French Connection, filmed in New York, where it happened. And they'd show the guy getting shot at the subway, falling back.
That scene was...
Yeah, that scene where he goes backwards. You're like, Mom, fuck the Love Bug, bitch. Remember the Love Bug was big in '69, and Jan Michael Vincent made a movie. I remember going to see that, The Strongest Man in the World.
Can I tell you?
Come on now.
I'm going to give it to you.
Drop it on me, baby.
Jan Michael Vincent married my high school best friend.
He's one top of
right?
It.
Jan Michael Vincent, again, he's another one. I tell you, everybody lived in friggin' Malibu back then. He lived up the street, and Jan Michael Vincent, I would party on a Friday night. The poor guy had a real serious issues. I would go into back the next day on Saturday night, the next day for brunch. And I remember one day, and this really struck me that he had an issue, was he was still head down on the bar. They let him sleep there from the point that they closed it. You know, he was partied like crazy.
If anybody,
I mean, he was Brad Pitt back in those days.
He was
Brad Pitt.
If you go right now and look up Jan Michael Vincent circa 1973, you're going to see one of the most remarkable faces to ever hit the screen.
Oh, women loved him.
When he fucking came on the Disney movie, The World's Strongest Man. Yeah. I remember I had to be like in the first grade, and little girls were fainting in the fucking movie theater. Then he did The Mechanic.
Yep.
Then he did a great movie that nobody ever... It was called Defiance.
Where he played the Marine.
The New York City...
Oh, in the street protecting...
Yes.
He was
yellow.
He was a boat worker.
A boat worker. And Paulie from The Sopranos.
Right. And
that's a great cast.
Great cast.
If you look at that movie, you're like, what the fuck? The guy that played the gang leader in that movie is brilliant.
The Puerto Rican gang member is perfect.
Yes, his tattoo was Jesus' thorn around his head. And the guy popped up years later in the Sean Penn movie of the gang movie.
The State of Grace.
No, the other one, the gang movie from L.A., with the rap music, 1987, 88.
What's the name of that film? Jeez.
You know, Sean Penn fucking rap about gang life and stuff like that. That movie.
Where he was an LAPD officer with Robert Duvall.
Yes.
Yeah.
He popped up in that. He played like a desk sergeant that bust Duvall and his balls. Brilliant. I mean, this is Jan Michael Vincent. Could have been
not Colors, right? Is that it?
Colors,
that was it.
Colors.
Jan Michael Vincent was on his way to being the biggest thing in Hollywood.
He
He screwed himself, as we've seen happen to many, many actors in Hollywood. And when Busey was my neighbor, I was friends with John Milius, the director, for a lot of years. And he made a film called Big Wednesday, which was a surf film. Busey, Jan Michael Vincent, William Catt, a whole selection of actors. I mean, he was on his way. And then he had an accident. After Chad's dad, Steve, died, Chad started producing some movies later on, and they hired Jan for one of these B movies. And right before the movie started, he had an accident and went through the windshield, and it totally ruined his face. Remember how handsome he was? He was like Frankenstein.
And he was on a TV show at the time. He
Airwolf.
was on
Airwolf,
yeah.
Which he told me, he said he hated doing. He said he loved Airwolf because of the money, but it was the hardest acting work he ever did because TV kept him on the set for like 16 hours a day, doing this movie. He liked doing the TV show. He liked the hours of the film better than the rigorous schedule of making a TV show, but he made bank out of that show. That was a very popular show for a while.
It was. He was on for a while, and then he disappeared. Then years later, they did like one behind the whatever music type show. What was that show? Once you had a bad fucking career.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I forget. I know
one of
what you're
those.
talking about,
What happened to them? And I watched it, and I was crying. He did a movie where he played like a beach kid, not Blue Lagoon.
One of his younger movies.
Yes, he played something. Jan Michael Vincent was in the film. He played like a kid by the beach with some other girl.
Wasn't it with like dream sequences or something?
Something
Yeah.
fucking weird.
What year do you think it was?
It was
roughly?
before The Mechanic. So Jan Michael Vincent, just press up the IMDb. It was before The Mechanic.
Sandcastles.
There you go.
Yeah, that's
Something,
it. That's it. That's
Sandcastles. That was the one that saw them. But then he did The Mechanic.
He also got in trouble with domestic abuse. The girl I told you about, he was accused of whacking her around pretty hard.
Then another path that you and I have crossed together is I go to Colorado. I go to Colorado Mountain College. They offer all these degree classes, but they also want you to take 2 UGOTS classes. I don't know what they call them, like
Electives.
Electives, yeah.
And one of the electives was Subagdo, which is the cousin to Tang Sudo. It was Chuck Norris's Tang Sudo before Chuck Norris left it.
Really?
And that's what they sell it as, Subagdo. In fact, one of the biggest schools is on Sunset. You know, Subagdo attendance has dropped.
Of course.
You know, so
I think all traditional martial arts.
so they put a combative school in there now, jiu-jitsu, or Gracie combative, and because of that, they're doing at least a little better. You know.
Yeah, you got to make. I mean, I loved my experience in Tang Sudo, and I've got a 2nd degree black belt in it. But my want was in my early 20s. The dojo sparring and everything was just boring. It wasn't doing anything for me, and I enjoyed fighting. You know, when it happened, and I don't know why. I went into kickboxing because, you know, when you spar in kickboxing, you're getting whacked or you get to whack the guy, and, you know, it was a lot more fun. And I just got heavily into kickboxing and got out of the traditional martial arts. But I have tremendous respect for all traditional martial arts, and I think for young kids it teaches them discipline, and, you know, and hopefully it teaches them discipline in this day and age. So, you know, I respect all martial arts. It's a matter of choice.
When I went back on my comeback trail in 2007 and tried to get clean from everything, that's what I did.
Can we turn on the air?
Yeah, I got back into martial arts again because I thought about, you know, where I was before my mother passed, and when I started fucking up is when I quit martial arts. You know, I was involved in martial arts from the age of 6 to the age of 15.
Cool.
And then
What was your style back then? What's your style?
Gushin-Ryu karate.
Oh, the Okinawan karate.
You know, it was all the same. It was when I first signed up in New York City, it was Goju karate, the black guys, the tough black guys on the 90th Street
They
on
were
the west
tough.
side.
They were tough.
And then when I moved to Jersey, I liked the karate, I liked the forms. I always went to the competitions in New York. I
Were
used
you
to
doing kata competitions? or
kata
sparring
competitions. In those days, there wasn't no punching in the face or below the waist. It was semi-contact. So you had to wear a head thing, and you had to kick with those things on your feet. This is what I did that from probably the age of 8 till about 14. I did that point type shit, Aaron Banks.
Well, that actually works out in my thing too, because I'm 57. I'm 6 years older than you, and if you did that at like 12, you know, I think I competed in the internationals when I was here in LA at the Long Beach, and when I was 17. I think Rogan actually won the internationals.
Probably. He
Yeah,
did
probably.
all that stuff.
Yeah, I know, because I know
But
he's
yeah,
got a
we're a
grand
lot
background.
older than he is. He came later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to the local ones on Saturdays and Sundays. You fought on Saturdays and you did form on Sundays, and you waited for a trophy and you went home and you went and got Chinese food, or you went and watched a Bruce Lee movie. But those kids didn't get high. Those kids didn't have a bad thought. Those kids' lives were, and and the weird thing was we'd get together and it was like 8 of us. But us 3 went to the same school. The kid from down the block went to judo. The other kid went to taekwondo. Nobody was in jiu-jitsu then. Jiu-jitsu wasn't even here yet.
No, I know.
No, jiu-jitsu wasn't even here
I
yet.
dabbled in it, but that was it. Dabbled.
I remember Savat was in the Bronx. Like, you had to go to the Bronx to learn motherfucking Savat and shit. We'll be kicking like French motherfuckers.
French martial arts in the Bronx?
In the Bronx when I was a kid. Like, you had to drive to places like that. But beside that, there was nothing. So all of us would get together and we'd teach each other things. Like, so let's say you went to Fu Jiao Pai Kung Fu. You teach me a form, and then I teach you a form, a green belt form from my karate school. And then he teaches something from me, you know? And it was just kids. But once I got out of that circle was when I started fucking up, is my fucking point. All right? What are you thinking?
Basically, that kept you straight, then you got sidewide.
And when I wanted to get straight again, I joined a Kung Fu school on Vermont. And I would go Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I'd have to kick and do forms. And it got my mindset of being around people that don't give a fuck that I do comedy. They don't give a fuck that I've been in a movie. You know?
Right.
These people are worried about making rent. They just barely could pay that place. You know, so when they go there, they're not there to talk or socialize. They go there to do their kung fu and get the fuck out of there.
The way it should be.
And that's the way it should be. It's pretty interesting, the different... but that, it always kept me straight. And like I said, I went to Jiu-Jitsu Tuesday and I went to Jiu-Jitsu today. And I had a great time. I'm improving, you know.
Joey, I've seen a big change in you, and I told you that. I mean, you look great.
Yeah,
and, you know, I'm so happy for that.
Yeah, I'm
sincerely happy for that. But you know, no matter how many different styles you train in martial arts, and I've trained in a number of different styles. I mean, as far as, you know, seeing what they're like you say, I call it dabbling. Is what I call it. Fights come down to one thing: just punch the guy right between the eyes. Just punch him right between the eyes, and keep punching, and keep punching, and keep punching. You know, don't get too fancy. It's all simple.
That's what I don't want to do. Punch somebody between the eyes. That's why I eat pot cookies and give Lee fucking gummy bears and shit. It's amazing. You know,
I don't go around punching people, Joey. I'm just saying if somebody picks on you, or did you see that video this week that was released of the guy in the convenience store, the Indian fella I think it was from, that fought MMA, and did you see this thing?
I heard something about a gas station guy.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Right.
These two or three guys come up to steal the money bag that they're either delivering or whatever. It's his buddy, and the outside camera caught it. He runs out and just straight leg drop kicks this guy, and, you know, puts the knuckles to him, and then to his other friend. It was street justice. And I'm just like this. I'm just like, yeah, I wish that would happen every day.
That's the problem. Everybody got a motherfucking camera. So even after you go home and you're sleeping and you think you did your deed as an American,
well, you got to live for it. It's going to live on after that.
They're going to come fucking get you.
This guy should. They're not going to come get this guy. This guy should get the key to the city. I'll give you an instance of where something happened while we're on the subject of street justice. I got it right here.
You know, nowadays something like that happens. A week later, the DA, oh, by the way, we have to press charges on you for minor assault because the guy ended up in the fucking hospital. And you're like,
well, didn't the fighter just get off because like some people broke into a fighter's house and they shot him or something, but it ended up being in self-defense like last week.
Did he get off? Is it still pending, or did he get off?
I think they dismissed the case. Let me see if I can find it.
They had another incident with an 80-year-old man. That's what I was looking for here. I read about it this morning. He had been robbed in his house before, and he came home and found this guy and this girl trying to pry open the safe in his house. They jumped on him. They broke his collarbone. They knocked him to the ground. The 80-year-old guy had the wherewithal to reach for his .22. It was only 22. And he shot the guy in the back. Or he shot at the guy. They ran out of the house. He was so pissed because they broke his collarbone. They beat him up. They're trying to rob him. He ran out into the street after them. Now, that's like an 80-year-old man, okay? Ran out into the street after him, shot the guy in the back. The girl falls to the ground. She pleads for him not to shoot her because she says, I'm pregnant. She wasn't pregnant. He shoots her, right? Kills them both. Now he's going to be arrested, probably go to jail for the rest of his life. But he was wrong. As soon as they ran out of the house, you can't do anything. He can't do anything.
Right, this guy, 4 people broke into his house. He stabbed one guy and killed him, and then beat the other guy so badly the other 2 guys ran away. So he didn't shoot him. He stabbed.
I love it.
I mean,
listen, man. You always #1 rule: you want to fuck somebody up, invite them over for dinner. That's the way. You want to fuck somebody's world up, you invite them over for dinner. That's the old Carmine the Torch way. That's old school, and that's what when you want to get away with murder, fucking put a string of 20s going right to your door and shit, and just sit there with a BB gun and a fucking bazooka. I mean, that's how you can shoot somebody. If you really want to shoot somebody, that's the way to shoot somebody. Just put like 8 20s leading up to your house, leave the door open, and just sit there with a fucking submachine gun and shit.
Are you for capital punishment?
Am I for capital punishment?
I know this is a very sketchy subject, but while we're on the subject of
it's hard.
Revenge.
It's hard when, like, part of me thinks, like, yes, like, sometimes it would, but then, like, could you push the button? That's where, like, oh, that's
I'm gonna tell you
a hard
something.
decision.
Last week or 2 weeks ago, they tried to ice somebody and it took 8 hours. His eyeball popped.
Yeah.
Or something
Well,
like
that's new,
that.
but yeah.
That's all new, but it happens once a fucking month. We just don't hear about it. Listen, man, I'm from the two sides of the fence. If you fuck up and there's a state law that says you gotta go, if you do one of those fucking things, you gotta go. If you really think about it, you're not really gonna go. It's gonna take 18 years before you fucking go.
We're taxpayers are paying $45,000 a year keeping these guys alive.
For me to say, am I in favor of capital punishment? Listen, man, I'm sitting here. You're telling me that story about that old fucking man, and I'm thinking about him, and I'm thinking about what he's going through. But I'm also thinking about the time I drove Dave Black, and I was in the car, and he went in and fucking, shook somebody down, and all of a sudden he's like, run, and I'm driving, and he's running up to the car because the guy's gonna get a fucking gun and shoot him. I've been in those situations. I couldn't have been here right now. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not one of those guys that says, I'm so lucky to be here. No. But I know that situation. So for me to say, should he get shot or not, I'm a fucking hypocrite one way or another,
And that thing with what I was saying is like they outlawed the old system for like the chemicals to put people to sleep. So like for the past 2 or 3 months, they've been trying new ones and it's not working.
Whatever happened, just not to interrupt you, Buff.
No, it's okay.
What about a cigarette and you fucking shoot him? What do you want to eat, dog? What are you talking about? Listen. It's all over. What do you want to eat tomorrow?
I don't know. I think a little differently. I think if somebody murdered and raped, someone's daughter, that the punishment should be to have 3 of the selected family members with baseball bats go into a small room and spend a half hour
in a
with the
real
guy.
fucking world.
Yeah, in the
but
real
that's
world.
not going to happen because we have Gentiles and they save whales and they're out there fucking swimming, saving the clam. Save the mouse program and all that shit. So you have these people that they get light. So you can't in a real world. I would love to be a prison guard and somebody did something to somebody's child, and for me to go, Lee, come on down, bring the fucking baseball bat and the fucking fishing pole. You're going up his asshole. I wish.
Well,
how many people really would?
Right.
How many people would?
A fraction of the ones that say they would.
I know for a fact, man. When I was 21, there was 18 people I wanted to kill, and I had no reason to live. And I had access to weapons, and I wanted to kill these people. And after a while, I would look at these people for what they really were, even at my young age. And I would say, why would I want to kill them? They're already fucking dead. They're already fucking dead. Some of these people walking around that did you wrong, or they just done people wrong, they're already dead. They don't even know. They know they're walking dead. You don't know it. You think like, oh, look at him. He's having a fucking good time. Donald Sterling's been dead for 20 fucking years. He's just got $100 million holding him up.
Well, like what? Just whenever I think about it, because it's a hard question. But like every once in a while, they'll have something where this guy went to jail for 18 years and gets out because he didn't do it.
Just happened the other week.
You spent like a year or something in jail, right? Like how long is a year to think about doing 18 years when you didn't do it, and then like. Like you guys said, if someone hurt my mom in any way, I'd want him dead in a second. But then, what if it's that 1% that didn't do it, and it's
Well, that's always not always a question, but it's a question that comes up. But listen, if they can let O.J. Simpson off, when I know for a fact, because of the fact that I know the third prosecutor on the team there, and they didn't allow so much evidence in. I mean, come on. Does anybody believe that O.J. Simpson is innocent anymore? Did you believe
look
it?
At him. After he got off, the families wanted him dead, and you could see that he was dead already. You could see him, even when he won and he cried in the church, and they went home and had the party. He was walking dead, and he was so dead that he went 6 years later, 8 years later, committed a kidnapping in a fucking hotel. He's
with the memorabilia thing.
Yeah, with the memorabilia thing.
And he wrote a book saying, if I had done it.
Yeah, but has anybody ever read that book?
I think they might have not put it out. I think they were saying it's going to come out, and then it got such a bad press thing. I think the publisher took it.
He was trying to make money to pay back his fucking defense. Everybody knows he did it, and he got away with it, but he got away with what? What did he get away with at the end of the fucking week? You don't get away with nothing, guys. I'm telling you right now, you don't get away with fucking nothing. You know what, man? Fucking John Gotti died of throat cancer. Sammy the Bull Gravano. You know where Sammy the Bull is? Under the jail in Colorado. He's got a condition from steroids and shit that he shakes.
Is he still alive?
He's still alive, and his hair and his teeth fall out of his fucking mouth. these people are alive, but they're dead. This guy that beat everybody, the stockbroker, and that's in jail, and he's in federal jail.
Oh,
that dude 2 years ago.
Maloof.
Maloof.
Yeah.
That guy's dead. He's just in.
Or Madoff.
Madoff is in a fucking jail, and he may have lunch money or whatever, but when he closes that cell at night, he knows he's fucking dead. How do I know that? Because at one time I was dead. That's why am I for capital punishment? What if the night I went to get Ken Vella, as I was moving him with the gun in my hand, as dumb as I am, I went for the fucking gun, the gun would have blown his fucking head off. Where would I be right now? They would have probably fucking, it's kidnapping 2, and murder. That's fucking capital punishment. So right now I'd probably still be waiting to get fucking shot in the fucking head with a cigarette in my mouth and the chicken parmesan in my fucking stomach, all right?
Better check the statute of limitations of some of these stories you're telling, Joey.
No, I went to jail for Ken Vella. I did time for Ken Vella. But even then, I remember being in a conversation with my attorney and the district attorney and the chick, and they're saying all this shit, and they said something that brought light to my life, that always brought light to my life. In the meeting, they said the reason Mr. Diaz has to go to prison is because what if?
Really?
What if?
Wow. Interesting.
What if he would have been dragging him and the gun would have went off? What if he would have been dragging him and the gun would have went off and shot the other guy or shot himself? There was a potential for violence. When there's a potential for violence, you're going to fucking jail.
How many years did they give you?
They gave me 4 to 6 with a reconsideration after 90 days. I ended up doing 8 months, 9 months, 12 months, but I was dead.
That's 8, 9, 12 months more than I ever
did.
Ever spell in jail.
2 months in county, a Christmas, a New Year's, a birthday. Trust me. And it's not you who suffers, it's the people who have to come fucking get you. You think Sandusky's in a federal jail having a good time right now? He's in a closet fucking crying. He knows black people out to fucking stab him in the neck with a Motown Sound album, and he's missing fucking little kids at the same time. He's a dead man. He's dead inside. So don't ever think that these people are fucking alive and having a good time.
When you say dead, do you mean like they feel bad, like, or is it could you be dead inside and not even feel bad? Because like, what's his name? O.J. Simpson to me doesn't seem like he's remorseful.
As soon as he won, every picture they took of O.J., he was dead.
But that's what I'm saying. That doesn't mean remorseful. It doesn't seem like he feels bad.
No, he never was remorseful. Yes, he was remorseful. He killed the best piece of pussy in Malibu. That chick would lick your asshole, and she loved black cock, and she loved that fucking you on her titties, and what the fuck.
Did you find this out on IMDb?
It's a 200 fucking episode.
It's on her Wikipedia.
What the fuck? So. I mean, that is one of the worst things of all time, that whole murder and how it went down and how they found the fingerprint. But it rained after the murder, so the fingerprint became a partial fingerprint. They did so many. Listen, man, it was such a complicated murder. There was so much blood involved.
How long ago was this?
O.J. Simpson.
Oh, you're talking about O.J.
Not me.
No.
I
was like, oh no.
On the O.J. thing, my business partner's brother was the third or fourth in the prosecution team. Hank Goldberg is his name. And, when you think about it, like the bit with the glove, the glove had blood. It was wet. I mean, take a leather glove, pour water over it right now, let it dry overnight. Let me see you put on that glove tomorrow morning. You going to be able to stick your fingers in that glove? Yeah. No. It's just ridiculous. They had the blood in his Bronco. She was sliced all the way down to where her neck was. It was through the vertebrae. Was hanging on by tendons and a little bit of bone. That's called crime of passion. And I've heard this from. I used to play poker with the police chief from Culver City, and he was telling me all this stuff. It's how did this guy get off? I just can't believe it.
And then there was a lady who saw the truck speed off, but she sold the story to the Inquirer or somebody. So that made her story null and fucking void. So they got away with. But in the reality, if you've ever been convicted of anything or ever been gone to court, in reality, all O.J. did was he put together the Yankees against like a AAA fucking. You following me?
In your opinion, for most stuff, I mean, of course, there's some stuff you just can't. But for most crimes, if you just throw money at it, are you going to get off or get? Maybe
you're never going to get off, but you're going to get a lesser. Instead of getting 30 years, you're going to do 6 at a country club.
That's so fucked up.
They're going to tailor it so it's nonviolent because they didn't find your fingerprint on and you're sitting there going through this, but it's a DA, he's arguing, your attorney. You know, for your attorney to argue, he's got to get they have to get people who go out and investigators, and they investigate what's going on precisely to the fucking, because they can't attack that shit. Like with me, when I sat with my attorney, I got accused of kidnapping 1, 2, aggravated burglary, assault or something, and accessory to a crime. Something fucking crazy. I got convicted of 5 felonies. Jeez. 4 of them were heavy duty, right? But they didn't find my fingerprints on the fucking, on the handcuffs, so they never found my fingerprints on the weapon. Then they did a background search. And I had been involved in a few fights, but it could never escalate from a few fights to a machine gun.
Right.
So my attorney told me, you're doing time. You're doing time. How much time?
That's the question.
Is what the question is. They want to give you 9 fucking years. I'm going to try to get you 4. All right? With what you went to high school, you got your degree, all this shit.
How did you feel at that moment when he said that to you?
When he said what?
When he said, it was evident when he laid it out for you, Joey, you're going to jail. You're going to go to jail for, however you put it, 6 years and try to get it. How did you feel at that moment knowing that the reality is, besides the reality you're already experiencing, the reality of your future is hitting you right now?
I was 25 years old, and if I'm sitting here lying to you, may God strike me, I knew 2 years before that I was going away. I had to pay for my sins. For me to move on with my life, I had to pay for my sins. And I knew that in the back of my mind. This is all going to go down to what I get caught doing. They had almost got me on the cocaine in '85. They almost had me with this. They almost had me on the, and then somewhere I weaved my way out of it. I left before they could, they were going to make multiple buys and then tie them in. They never made the multiple buy. Whatever they did, they fucked up. But I knew I had to pay somewhere along the line. I didn't know it was going to be for fucking kidnapping. They came in and said, you're looking at 48 fucking years. If you take this to trial, you're going to get 20. 20. I'm 25. And it's a violent crime. So that means you go in front of parole after 20, and they could still say, no, he's not ready. Oh, I'm sorry. After like 15 years, you go in front of parole. Don't make me do the full fucking 20. So I knew I was dead, Bruce. I
understand what you're saying. Yeah.
I was dead. But I knew that this was my fate. Now I had options. I could go to Honduras and work at a Hertz. I could go to Mexico in those days. It was '85. I could slip into Mexico like nothing. Or I could do the time. I could just do it. And I knew that I heard horror stories of people who run. I heard people who got away for 30 years, had a kid, were church workers now, were volunteers at the hospital. And one night somebody got into a car accident. They had to go to the hospital, and they did a background check. And they did a fingerprint. When you're the dumbest fucking thing. Here you are in the middle of your life. That shit's forgotten. And all of a sudden they're going to pinch you for something you did 30 years fucking earlier.
And you're waking up every day with that in your head.
With that in your head.
Yeah.
I said, no, I don't want that. So I stalled them. I got a good attorney. I fired him. I got another attorney. I was hoping that the witness would disappear. And then finally they called and said, it's over. The charade is over. You're going to fucking, you're pleading on June, and you're getting sentenced August 15th, 1988. Whew. And then, but in the back of my cocaine-addicted brain, I was going to get away with this one because I had gotten away with all the others I had done. For years, everything, I was always one step ahead of them. So in my mind, the lucky angel was going to come through. I'm Catholic, so in my mind, St. Francis of Assisi was going to drop a note like he did for that, or how they did for him. And angels were going to appear in the courtroom, and the judge was going to take a piece of paper from the air, and he was going to say, let him go, because Jesus said so, some bullshit. And they called, this was the fucked up part, Buck, that they called the Friday before, when you're believing. So I want you to think about this. So it was August 12th, and they called at 9:05 to say, hey, Community Corrections turns you down. You got 2 options. Either the probation department picks you up, or you're going to prison. I'm going to be in my office till 10, and I'm going down to the file a motion. And I was like, I had till 5 o'clock. Like I knew That was it.
Right.
I had to make a decision at 8
Right.
o'clock. So I did what any other good American do. I went and got a couple 8 balls, and I just went straight till fucking Monday morning.
Whoa.
What a fucking shame. I probably slept 3 hours before I went to court. And I went with my cocaine mind and walked in there and said, I'm going to get away with it. I'm going to go up in front of this judge.
Because you're fantasizing for 2 days.
I was going to go up in front of this judge and sweet talk this motherfucker. I was going to chuck and jive.
Yeah, how'd that work for you, Joey?
Oh, my God. Let me tell you how much of a fucking... When they said, called my name, Jose Diaz, stand, and he asked me what words I had to say, my voice went. My voice went. I started squeaking. For years, I had been talking, chucking and jiving. Oh.
I can't imagine your voice going.
My fucking voice went, guys. My whole body shut down. It was like a little squeak. I got tears in my eyes. I was dead.
Now, they took you to jail that day, or they sent you?
Oh, my God.
So now you got something else to deal with. You got to withdraw from not only the 8 balls you played with that weekend, you got to withdraw from your lifestyle. So now you're going to jail. Now you don't have the recreational escapes. I mean, that's like, how bad can it get?
Hold on.
That's a great word for drug use.
If you know anything about Mad Flavor, you know he had a little something in his suit. You know what I'm saying?
You think you can walk in today and keep that going into jail?
This was amazing. This is Boulder County.
Yeah.
I never forget I had this suit on. This is a true story. I'm joking around with you. This is a tremendously true story. I had bought the suit, and in those days I used to hide my coke in my suits. So after he sentenced me,
Where were you hiding them? Like sew a pocket in or
in
something?
my suit, anywhere, right? In this suit here, where you put an envelope, I put a coke in there. Where you put the handkerchief,
Right.
And I just opened the closet, and I had different shirts, and I put coke in. I bought the suit that I wore to that thing like the Monday before, so I only had that suit a week. So I didn't know what was going on. I put it on the day I was getting sentenced. I go down there. They sentenced me. My family's in court. The girl I was dating, her family, a couple friends from Jersey had flown out. And as I would walk in, boom, I knew I was dead. That's it. I couldn't do nothing. I got 4 to 6 years. They would decide after after they analyze your fucking brain, they decide what kind of sentence. I fucking go back into the thing. There's a camera in the fucking cell. I go back there. I have my suit on. I take the suit off. I had my shoes on. They didn't take my laces out there. Nothing. Maybe I didn't even have laces. I went back to have my shoes, and I folded my jacket, and I was looking for like lifesavers I had. I go, oh fuck, I got life, because I know you ain't gonna eat for a while. It was 1 something, so I already missed lunch. So I know I was gonna have to get processed, and then go to county. I knew I was in there for 8, 9 hours. And do you know I'm going through my pockets, and Buff, I pull out a Coke rock this fucking big. It had to be 1.5 grams.
Did you have anything to chop it with?
Oh, no. I just chopped it with my fucking hands. And I must have had like $1 bill or something. I rolled it up like I've been doing for years. And I did it all in one fucking gagoop.
That's called the last hurrah.
And I took that bindle and I flushed in that metal toilet. And I rolled my dollar back on. And I sat there in county waiting. There was nobody in the cell with me. And next thing you know, they were going, Diaz, wake up. I had passed out for 3 hours. Right after doing the coke. Like the stress of me going away.
The whole build-up.
It was over.
Yeah,
It was over.
yeah.
It overpowered the coke. And that's it. They took me and then I got processed. They fingerprint you. They take your fucking suit. They give you an orange suit. They look in your asshole. You pee in a cup. You know, that was it. That was the beginning of the end. It was really... And at that time, I thought my life was over. Like,
When did it start coming back together? Like, after you acclimated yourself for a number of months, or?
After I was in there? No. You know, I took the party right in there. Don't ever think that. I was 25. You had to shoot me with a fucking bazooka.
Yeah, sure.
So I went right in there. I held it together for a few weeks. The only thing I didn't do in there was smoke pot. But once I got into the system, I didn't do blow or nothing like that. I did acid. There was a lot of acid and crank in there. There was a white dude from Philly, Clark was his name.
He was the candy man?
He was the speed guy. He was the biker. He was the biker fucking meth guy in those days. They didn't call it meth. They called it speed. That's it. I think those guys shot it. I snorted it. But I only snorted it like once or twice in there. It was really, it was a different experience, which I've always closed I've always held close to my heart, believe it or not.
Like I said, never forget where you come from.
Some people would put it away and not let people know. I always keep it on the side of my head because it makes me think of how fast things happen in your life.
You ever do any work relaying this to kids or relaying to, like a Scared Straight type program? You ever do anything like that? To help, help them, scare them a little bit?
I want to, but here's the deal. From the time I was 12 to the time I got put away, life was throwing me a Scared Straight. I didn't give a Frenchman's fuck.
Mm-hmm.
So I know when I talk to Lee after I leave, I know if Lee's a gangster and Lee's making, if Lee right now in 2014, because Lee's 26 years old, if Lee was making $4,000 a week to Lee, and he was going out every night and drinking VIP in Vegas and shit, 16 grand a month, he'd be paying $4 for his apartment, and he'd blow the rest. Lee would think he was Al Capone, would he not? So when I leave the room, he'd say, he's an old fuck. He don't know nothing. He's a fucking loser, Joe Diaz. What the fuck does he know? We know. Mm-hmm. And people knew who gave me advice, but who the fuck were they to give me advice?
Right.
And I took some of it. I'm not going to lie to you. I took a lot of advice. I know when some people come up to you, when I was a kid, somebody came up to me and said, when they do me a favor, don't go down to Seahawk and rob those motorcycles no more. Yeah, but don't go down there and rob motorcycles no more. Okay. A week later, we went down and got robbed motorcycles, and 2 of the kids got arrested. When I seen him the next day, he looked at me and goes, didn't I tell you not to go down there and rob the motorcycle? Yeah, but you didn't say the cops were down there. I didn't have to tell you. I don't have to tell you shit. I'm telling you not to go down there. That's all you need to fucking know.
Did you say ride the motorcycles or rob the motorcycles? Okay, I didn't get that at first.
When we were kids, one of the trains went through that Secaucus port.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to carry Honda motorcycles. Not built. They were like...
You pull them right off the thing?
And you pull them right off the train. You put them into the swamps. And then later on, you and 6 gorillas had to come back and carry them out of the swamps. And you had to cut the bike in 3 ways. So you had to steal a couple bikes. You got a piece of a whole bike. You know what I'm saying?
So you rebuilt the bikes, or you sold them as is?
So you take them right to the fucking Honda dealership. In those days, in the 70s, they didn't give a fuck. Paperwork, they typed that shit up in 10
Serial
minutes.
numbers didn't mean crap back
then? Nothing.
You bring it back to the Honda dealership?
To the Honda dealership on the top of Kennedy Boulevard.
And say we bought these?
No, we're bringing these in. What can we get for them? In the fucking crate. Them and Kawasaki's. I remember but our main money maker that you didn't even take back to the Honda dealer was the Honda Mini Trail.
The mini bike.
Oh my God.
We used to ride those like crazy when we were kids.
You have no idea.
Love that.
No clutch, 3 in the tree.
Do they have anything like that anymore?
1 up and 2 down or 3 down.
Yeah.
And you always had the fucking nerd on the block that knew how to ramp the CCs up to 79 or 80 CCs. Are you fucking kidding me or what? With the little fat chubby tires and shit. We used to get those in a box. And one time, me, like 8 guys, they were a lot older. And the last time I went down, I got shot with a salt and pepper gun. Salt and pepper gun, where they shot you and they blow up, and then you start scratching for 3 days like some dude.
You mean the rock salt that the police officers used to shoot?
This is no, it wasn't the cops in those days. It was the Port Authority Transit Police. The people down with
that was their idea of a stun gun?
Yeah, there was no bullets. They didn't have bullets. They had flashlights and a salt and pepper gun. Next thing you know, you're scratching like Ebola and shit. You know what I'm saying? What the fuck? Who's got fucking Ebola anymore? The thing that, before we fucking go off the track here, I met you years ago, and we always fly back together on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I always sit with you and we talk and we
great.
chit-chat.
I love that.
And it's really weird that one of the things, I love when you get to find things out about people. And you always, sometimes you meet people and they're like, oh, by the way, I'm having an art... You're a construction worker. But I'm having an art display down at the gallery. And you're like, get the fuck out of my face. But one day you hit me with your hobby. And there is no hobby that I love more, that I'm scared to pursue, than the art of poker.
Oh.
The art of poker to me is something that there's few things that I would like to be. Yeah, I like to be Joe Lozon, but I also like to be fucking a poker player. To live that lifestyle. That I wish that life would say to you, okay, so you're going to grow up to be 85 years old. What do you want to do? And you're like, well, I want to be a comedian until I'm about 38. And then from 38 to 51, I want to be a jiu-jitsu star. I want to fly all over the world. But after that, I just want to be a poker guy, where I live with sunglasses on, and I go from casino to casino all over the fucking world and play poker. I go from city to city doing comedy. Those guys, those real fucking gangsters with the glasses, and they're eccentric, because they're all very eccentric. Mm-hmm. They travel. You got to chase the cards, Just, I think, right, or you just live in Vegas? What the fuck do you do?
Well, a lot of these guys, like the Daniel Negreanu's of this world, who's now the top leading poker winner with like over 20 million in poker tournament winnings. On to Phil Hellmuth, who everybody's heard about. I can go on and on about the different guys that are out there. Doyle Brunson, everybody knows Doyle Brunson. These guys, a lot of them are like professional athletes, like tennis players that are sponsored. And they'll travel the world, and play all the big tournaments. One, like last week or last month, I was playing with them at the World Series in Vegas during the main event. Suddenly they'll head out this month and head over to Europe to play the European Poker Tour. So they'll be in London, or they'll be in the south of France, in Monte Carlo or Cannes, or then they're over to Australia, Melbourne, at the Crown Casino where I play. That's amazing. Or they'll go over to China, and they just travel, playing all these big tournaments. So it's kind of like life on the road, but you're right. I mean, it is exciting, but that's not the way it is for all of them. Your basic average poker player is what we call a grinder, and something I would never want to be. I love playing poker, but selectively where and who I play with. But the grinders that are looking to make their, with respect, and God bless all of them, because, I believe we're all created equal in life, Joey. It's just about the paths we choose. I hate seat. I like real people. So these guys, when they go and they do the grinding to make their 200 a day, their 500 a day to pay the bills, right? They're there 8 hours a day at that table, sitting down, grinding. That's not the poker life for me. The poker life I like is playing the big tournaments like the World Series, where you're going to drop down, some of the events are 1,000, but the main event's 10,000, and you have a chance to win 8 million, or in this case this year was a guarantee of 10 million for first prize. Or you could win 100,000. I've won as much as 30,000 in that tournament, and on and on and on. Or you go over and you play the World Poker Tour in, like I said, the south of France. They even have it in Greece. I couldn't go play. I was invited. All expenses. Plane was paid for. My entry was paid for. They just wanted me to go play and do an appearance, but I had a UFC. I couldn't go. You don't think I wanted to go to Greece and play that poker tournament? It can be a very exciting, adventurous James Bond lifestyle life, but that's not the life of your average poker player. I'd say they're grinding it out to pay the bills. And every time a guy comes up to you, I don't care who he is. I don't care if he's talking about blackjack or poker or whatever. And out of their mouth is always, "Hey, I won 100,000. I won 10,000." They don't tell you, the guy that said I won 10,000, he doesn't tell you about the 20 times he lost 5.
Right, nobody
right?
does. Yeah.
They don't do that, do they?
No.
The way I do it for myself is I treat it like a business. For the last 11 years, 10 or 11 years, I can, on my computer, I can tell you every day where I played, what I played, how much I won, how much I lost, tally at the end of the month, tally at the end of the year. I've only had one losing year in 10 years, and it wasn't a lot. Otherwise, I treat it like a business, because you don't win all the time, Sure, I can tell you many times I've won 5 figures, and I'll tell you that truthfully I've lost 5 figures too. So it's about keeping track. If you don't keep track of it, you lose track of it. It's really that simple. That's how I like to work it.
No, I'm very ignorant at this gambling style. I grew up around numbers, policy banking, the 3 numbers at the track, and I grew up around sports betting. So I was never hip to. I saw people play dice. Because I had no patience, and because I was a coke fiend, I couldn't stand it.
There's no way you could play poker with those two.
With those two actions. Now I could learn it.
You could learn, and you would probably enjoy it very much, because you're a very cerebral individual. And I know, being from the streets of New York and your life that you've been through, you've got to be a good reader of people. You've got to have a poker gut. You can see somebody and tell if they're an asshole or if they're somebody decent. Probably by that first 2 lines of dialogue.
You have to. I always talk to Lee about this. You have to.
Yeah, you have to have that kind of perception. You have to put together what they call a bankroll. So when you're gambling, look what I do. My business life is over here. My personal life's over here. I've got an account over here for poker. It's called my bankroll. The money I've won, everything comes out of that bankroll. So that way I control the bankroll. There's different aspects of it. But the thing about poker is that if you can get into it, for me, it's like a competitive adrenaline rush. When I knock somebody out of a tournament and I take all their chips, right? We're not there to make friends. We're there to make money. But we're there to have a good time, too. And I do have a good time playing. When I take them for all their chips, I get this real feeling of, like, adrenaline rush of competition. You know, I did a competition in the past with the surfing and martial arts and all the stuff I used to do in the past and still do today. You know, I still surf and stuff, but it's like I can't go out and bang away and take the abuse of my body that I used to. So I look for competition in different areas, and a lot of them it's cerebral. And poker gives me that rush that I need.
How long have you been playing poker for?
My dad taught me at 9 how to play poker and blackjack, and he taught me about horse racing. He said, never follow horses. If you're going to follow them with a shovel. Don't bet on them, right? Which is great advice. I started playing cash games when I was 14 with my brother Brian. And we used to play these, there was a country club near our house in Philly, and we would play the Jewish caddies. And we'd have games at our house. And my brother actually made enough money to go to Europe and take a month vacation over in Europe when he was 18. And then the real poker boom came in 2003 when Chris Moneymaker won the World Series. Because back in the old days of the World Series, there was maybe 150 or 200 entries. So the guy that won the World Series, like Amarillo Slim or Doyle Brunson back then, they maybe beat 200, 300 people. Today, you got to beat a field of like 6,500 or more people that enter the main event, right? And you got to get down to the top 10% in order to get your money back, which is $10,000, and then start making money on that from that point forward, all the way up to the $10 million that somebody will win in November when the final 9 players come back. So rounders that we talked about earlier, and when Moneymaker, who entered a satellite, which is a tournament you play online, in his case, for like $35, give or take, he entered the satellite and he won a seat into the main event World Series. He went on to win the World Series, and he won $2.5 million. So he was this dysfunctional, degenerate gambler from the Midwest who was an accountant, but then became world famous for being the common man, becoming famous overnight, winning his $2.5 million, and that just set the world on fire. Suddenly now you've got 4, 5, or 6 TV shows, World Poker Tour, World Series, Celebrity Poker, all these shows coming out. I played on every one of them except for Celebrity Poker and High Stakes, but they all just started growing like rabbits. And now thousands are going into Vegas and playing the World Series, and it just built. And these websites like Full Tilt and Party Poker. Party Poker came to me in 1999 and wanted me to work with them, bringing the poker world into MMA events. And this is one of the things I regret in business. I didn't see it back then, but I saw it 2 years later, but it was too late. I had a chance to work for them. The lady that started Party Poker sold it and went public for the biggest sale of like almost any company around, like billions.
So you still allowed to play poker online?
What's happening now is the Safeport Act was signed about 3 years ago when I was on Full Tilt. I was on Full Tilt's poker's team for 4 years. They used to pay me to play poker online on their site. And the Safeport Act was signed in April. We call it Black Friday. And all online poker in the United States went away because you can't use a domestic banking or financial institution to put money into an online poker site. So all the sites, Full Tilt, Poker Stars, everybody had to stop play immediately. It happened. We went on our computers to go play that day, and there was a Department of Justice symbol on each site that they were closed, right? And people started getting arrested at Full Tilt. And right now, it's a state-by-state situation. And Ultimate Poker, who I'll be signing with, it's one of the owners is Lorenzo Fertitta. They are now playing online, and it's legal in Nevada, and it's legal in New Jersey. And the next 3 states to pass will be Pennsylvania, New York, and California by everybody's estimation. So in about 2 to 3 years, the Wild Wild West is going to come back, and you're going to have these 20-year-old, 19-year-old kids playing poker online, and I know many of them, more than I can count, that are making 6 figures, if not 7 figures a year, just playing online on their computers in their homes.
You play online, don't you, Lee?
No, I like cards, I like blackjack, but I was never good at math. And I've listened to podcasts and I've watched some of these shows to understand the statistics that you're looking at and to be able to know when to if you watch it on TV, there'll be players that fold the minimum bets 10 times, and then like if it were me, I'd panic. I'm losing that money, and I would make a stupid bet. Like the point in poker, from what I've seen, is that you just have to wait for that one hand and win a $6 million pot. Like you can't. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'm if I'm right or not. But it's not like blackjack where you're looking to win every hand.
I'm a big blackjack player, and I actually made my money for 6 months in between companies that I owned. Because I had to pay the bills. I would fly to Vegas and try to make $4 or $5 grand just to pay the bills that month. So I can actually say I lived as a blackjack player paying my bills for about 6 months. And it's like you have to accept the fact that in blackjack, the casino always has a slight edge.
Right.
If you can win 3 hands in a row, you better, there's systematic betting. It's all about money management.
Right.
Because you can't win every hand in blackjack. It's just impossible.
Oh,
you can have runs.
Yeah.
You can have runs.
And then I don't know if I know you work a lot with the casino, so if you don't want to answer that, that's fine. But everyone I talk to, because I love Vegas, and I always talk to people who make their living there, and everyone says, ultimately, to win at blackjack, you have to count cards. Like, do you think that's true?
I think if you're the kind of person who's going to play every day, that would be helpful. I'm not a card counter, but I play with a system called BSC. I call it ball, skill, and confidence. And you better have a 20% luck factor to go with that. And what I mean by that is that the skill comes from learning and understanding the game. So I can ask you 2 questions, and that'll tell me if you're good at blackjack or not.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm also really high, so give me a little bit of a break, but yeah, I'm ready.
Well, if you can't play blackjack when you're high, then you can't play blackjack. Come on.
That's true. Okay, hit me with the questions.
All right. Dealer's got a 6 showing.
Oh, no.
And you've got an ace-4. What do you do?
Well, are you playing a surrender thing, or because
No. You're okay. Right, you're not at a shoot. Let's just
okay.
Let's just take it as an example. You can't
hit.
surrender. You got to make it.
I would have to hit.
Okay, that's not the right answer.
I know, but it's like
no. But I didn't mean the right answer is to fold, or excuse me, is to not take a hit. The answer is when the dealer has a 4, 5, or 6. That's their bust cards.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what you have in your hand. You're betting that she or he is going to bust.
Right.
So you want to edge your bet to make the most money at that moment. So if you have $50 in the hand, double down. Double down and take 1 card and let them go for the bust. That's how you make money at blackjack. That's one example. You have a pair of 8s. You get dealt 2 8s. The dealer's got a king. What do you do?
Well,
which is 16, folks, for those.
Right. You're supposed to split it, but he has a king, so you're worried that you're going to lose a hand. So
yes and no, not necessarily. And it all depends on your chip stack, because there is such a thing called gut calls. The book can say whatever it wants, but this is what you follow. This is what you listen to.
Yeah.
Now, in a chance where you can, I'm sorry if we're speaking Spanish to anybody listening, but if you, at that point, surrender. Now, we'll get back to surrender. If you play on a shoe where you can surrender, every hand that you can bust on, surrender that friggin' hand. Get it out of there. You will save so much money over the next couple hours going for those winning hands. And I think of one last one. Dealer has an ace, finds out they ask you for insurance. You say no. They check to have a blackjack. They don't have it. You're looking at your cards now.
Right.
You've got a 8 and a 2, which is 10.
Right.
What do you do?
You're supposed to just hit it.
No.
Aren't you not?
You're supposed to double down.
But the one, it was like King of Blackjack or whatever, it was Wizard of Odds, said that when it's like a king, queen, ace, you're worried that they're gonna. No, never mind. They didn't have blackjack.
Fuck the Wizard of Oz.
What the hell? Who the frig is the Wizard of Oz?
Not Wizard of Odds.
Oh, Wizard of Odds.
Fuck that punk.
Okay, well, yeah.
That fucking dude. When was the last time you seen him belly up at a fucking thing? How much he charge you for the program?
No, it was free.
Right.
I'm so high right now.
I know you.
Jimmy, you can always, a poker, blackjack, you can definitely make some money at. Here's the big key to the situation of blackjack. Make sure you know when to get the Velcro off your ass and get up from the seat.
Yeah, that's
you
always my
go
problem.
in and hit them like you wake up in the middle of the night with your girl and you give her a Pearl Harbor at 3 a.m. You know what that is, Joey?
He don't fucking know.
But you know what a Pearl Harbor is?
No, not really.
It's like you wake up, you look at your girl, you feel like you're in Pearl Harbor. No, go back to sleep. Sit there, do an hour session, and get the hell out of there as soon as you're up. Go have a drink, go talk to girls, whatever. Then go back and go do another session. Don't sit there for 6 hours straight. They're going to get you.
Yeah. Well, they always seem to get me when I go back. Like, if I win and I step away, going back's always a mistake.
I'll make you a promise. You guys come to Vegas, I'm there. You're with Joey at a UFC. I guarantee I will promise you 45 minutes to an hour. We're going to play some blackjack
Where
together.
do you like to play in Vegas?
I play poker, but mainly. But I don't always have time. When I'm there after a UFC, you'll usually, unless I'm with a girlfriend, you usually see me at the blackjack table after I have dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's stupid. Oh, I do want, actually, I want to ask you this. Have you played Blackjack Switch?
I will not play wild cards. I won't play any of those.
I love Switch.
No,
it was great.
That's like Jewish poker. I'm sorry. I don't want.
He's Jewish.
There you go. Okay, you got it. Okay, I'm sorry.
That's why he loves all that shit. That's how they get you.
I'm Italian. Okay, we're very similar. Our mothers are very similar. I went to your house for the brisket and the twice baked potatoes. You came to my house for the pasta. Okay. But in reality, Jewish moms, Italian moms, a lot of similarities, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No, but it's you don't like it because most times.
No, I didn't say I didn't like it. I just play straight blackjack. I don't play. I won't go to the casinos here in LA and play the 22 California blackjack.
Right.
He don't want to play games because he knows every time the switch, that's more money for the fucking house.
It's another angle for the house.
It's another angle. All that shit. And I don't even know cards, but I know anything unless that's what they want you to do. They want you to go in there, yeah, give me a vodka tonic. And next thing you know, you're sucking 22 fucking cocks. You know what I'm saying? Filipino dicks right there at the fucking Commerce Casino. They yelling at you. You got no egg rolls. What are you going to do? Let me ask you this, Bruce. Could you make a living just gambling every year?
Mm-hmm.
Just playing?
I chose.
How many nights a week would you have to go out?
If I was to choose, which I would never choose, but if I was to choose that kind of life, I would probably take 3, max 4 days to play what I needed to play to pay the bills. Like I said, I do not want to be a grinder. But in poker, I can do more than pay the bills. If I went into poker professionally like these guys, I really truly believe, because I cash usually 70% of the tournaments, or 60% of the tournaments, that I enter, where the average good amount is 20 to 30%. I don't play as many tournaments as the guys. I know if I got really into it and honed my game, I'd make 6 figures easy playing poker. I know I would.
Wow.
If not millions, winning some of the big tournaments. I would get sponsored by some of the big, one of the big sites, like some of the guys I know, and hopefully they would sponsor me and I'd travel and do the number. But it's not the life I choose. When I decide to stop doing what I do in sports and entertainment, retire out of the octagon in that area of my life or whatever, I do like poker, because when I retire, it's going to be something I can have fun playing when I get older. But I want to do other things. I want to play poker. I want to hopefully, still be dating and having fun. I want to be able to surf and see movies and and read and just do what I love in life. It wouldn't just be to do one thing. I'd become a very unhappy person. I got to have a zest. I got to wake up and feel fresh. I like variety. But whenever you choose anything in life, you've got to focus. If you don't focus, you're going to do it half-assed. You're not going to succeed.
No, it's always nice to find when your hobby makes you a little bit of money, when it's very enjoyable.
My hobby I make money in is collecting. I collect antique weapons and artifacts. I collect vintage movie memorabilia. I got a huge poster collection that I cherish, like It's a Wonderful Life, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Day the Earth Stood Still. I got all these, amazing art pieces. And I collect sports memorabilia. One of the biggest things is one of the best investments you can make today is wax packs. Remember the wax packs we played with the kid for 5 cents? You get a pack of Topps baseball cards.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was born in 1957. The pack of 5 cards and a bubblegum piece cost 5 cents.
How good was that fucking bubble?
It was great every time it bought. It was awesome.
Fuck. It broke into like 18
pieces.
Every once in a while you got a fresh piece. That was the day, your luckiest fucking day of your life. But if not, that gum always broke into 18 pieces. Took you like 15 minutes just to get it right, but it was good for about 4 minutes.
You know what that pack costs today? 1957 Topps. I just bought one last year. It's valued at a little about $5,000 plus. And these packs actually go up an average of anywhere from 10 to 30% or more a year. Like Michael Jordan's rookie card is in the Fleer wax pack, again costing 5 cents. I bought these in 1992 for like $20, right? That one just sold on the eBay on the internet just this week for $990. 2 years ago, or a year ago, I paid $450. It doubled in price in 1 year. Why? Simple economic theory, supply and demand. That's what collectibles are all about. Today, you buy stuff. Anything pre-1975 is your best area to think about collecting in sports memorabilia. Pre-1975, because since then they just started printing paper. Maybe some of the early 80s specific things like the Fleer pack I told you with Michael Jordan. But from the 1990s on, it's just tons of paper. Now, another collectible, when the UFC trading cards came out by Topps, Those boxes cost $60, $70, right? They're $800+ today. And they sell the first issue. So I used to tell everybody in my podcast, go out and go buy yourself a couple boxes, put them away. You know, there's ways to make money. Collecting is a big thing. Don't throw anything away. That has potential value. I can go on and on and on about this. This is what my TV show that I'm working on is going to be all about. I just can't go into
collectibles and sports. That's fucking amazing. My buddy was George Kolodinsky. That's what he does. He frames everybody's shit. Bernard King. Bernard King has like a Burger King. There's Albert King.
There's a buyer for everything, Joey.
And he was amazed. Basketballs. Man, do you remember that some guy sent me a 76er basketball?
Right.
He found it in his garage. I took it to the collector. The collector said it was an Atlanta Hawk basketball. That wasn't Julius Erving. It was JoJo White. It was the weirdest fucking thing. They found all this shit out. It's fucking... That's a complete different world I don't know about. Is there really a lot of money in it? In really sport collectibles?
Yes, I know people that make tremendous amounts of money, but you got to know what to buy. My brother Brian's amazing at it. Amazing. His house is actually like a store. I mean, he just doesn't have room for everything he has. You know, we've got other areas we put stuff.
Now, years ago, HBO did a special, sort of like what you did for Brian Gumble or one of those guys on there, and it was about the whole scam, the authenticity scams.
The big authenticity scam is in the signatures. I have very few signatures that I collect unless I personally got them from somebody, like Magic Johnson. You know, I met him back in '92, and he signed a picture for me, and we were doing some charity thing together. And I know if I can prove with a COA, which is called Certificate of Authenticity, you got to really. It's like the horse's mouth that told you what they told you. It's all about who you heard it from, right? Well, it's all about who you bought it from in sports memorabilia. Yes, because there's such wherever there's big money, there's going to be counterfeit, unauthentic stuff. As an example, out of sports memorabilia, like when I was and do collect, the antique weapons, one of the biggest collectibles even to this day and the most valuable is German military from World War II. As an example, a German Luger. Okay, when you get a German Luger, it should be stamped with the last two numbers of the serial number on roughly 16 or 17 different pieces inside the Luger. And I know how to find them all. I take it apart and find them all. But then if you take it and you take one piece out and you change it, which has a different number, that gun that could be worth $10,000 suddenly is worth maybe $1,000. A lot of people will take it and they'll refinish it, or what they call reblue it, thinking they got a beautiful piece. Now, no, you just ruined the whole original value of that piece with like refinishing a car. You buy an antique car, sure, a lot of them got to be fixed up, but who fixed it up? How they fix it up? All these things come into play when you're collecting.
You ever collect anything, Lee, like stamps or bugs?
No.
Nothing, you fuck?
It's,
You
no.
never collected nothing?
No, did you?
Yeah, I collected comic books for a couple of years.
Oh, okay. I thought you
I
meant something
collected
like
stamps
valuable.
for a couple of years.
Joey, big money in comic books.
money.
Big money.
I used to rob the guy and bring him back. It was a fucking nightmare. Anthony Palmer,
I'm so upset because when I was like 10, I had the original Spider-Mans and all this. I saved, my brother Brian saved it, and I don't know what happened. My dad or something, of all people, was the biggest collector I ever knew. We threw him out. And to this day, that collection we had as kids would be six-figure value.
I had all that shit. Cincinnati Red Gloves, Orlando Cepedas first. I had tons of shit growing up. Lee, how the fuck didn't you collect nothing as a kid?
No, I didn't know. I know.
$20 Bill Sports, Boston Red Sox.
They had these little
What'd you collect?
plastic things that kids used to. I don't know. You flick them at each other, and like it'd be battles. I don't remember the name of them.
How many did you collect all of a sudden?
You would carry them around in these cases.
And that's all you ever fucking collected?
I had baseball cards, but I was never like into it. I would just, anytime I got a baseball card, I would put it in this little notebook.
This is the youth of America. This fucking kid never.
Well, how do you know what to collect? Like, what if you kept these for 8,000 years?
Fucking knives or dead people's teeth. Something. You gotta collect something, Lee. You gotta fucking have a good time. I tried to collect shit and I got rid of it. I got bored with it.
Here's the key to collecting. Here's the key to life, in my opinion. And you got this hopefully from my book. I'm a very passionate individual. If you have passion for something, like I do for movie memorabilia, as an example, and I can look on the wall at my 7-foot tall poster from the movie It's a Wonderful Life, which is one of the best movies ever made, still played every Christmas. I look at it and I get a good feeling. I'm passionate about it. It makes me feel good. If you can do that and collect and you know how to make money at it at the same time, it's perfect. It's kind of like having a job, like what I do in the octagon. I'm so passionate. I love so much when I step into that octagon. I live for that. It's one of the greatest things I do in my life, and that thrill just gets more and more and more. And I get paid for this, unbelievable. That's nirvana.
You do it right, and you have. I remember sitting with you like for UFC 94 and talking about how UFC 100 was coming up, and you were gonna do the Buffer 360, and we were all excited, and Red Band was taping, and we were fucking excited. And you went out there and you did it one move, it's just, and I see you, I'm at the weigh-ins. My whole thing about the UFC is if I don't go to the weigh-ins, it ain't the same.
It sets up the whole picture.
The party is the fucking weigh-ins. If you're an amateur, you don't go, the weigh-ins is the whole thing. And I haven't been going. I've been lazy, I don't go. I like to go to the weigh-ins when I'm in Vegas. I'm in the fucking hotel, and I go right from the weigh-ins up to my room like a soldier. And I refuel for the night. I don't want to be walking the streets in the weigh-in. People want to fuck with you and shit. That's why I don't go. But I love the weigh-in time. Was talking to Buff, and I'm like, Buff, what are you going to do for the 100, the 360? And I was very excited. Excuse me. I had a little burp that came out of my muffler and my throat at the same time. You ever had one of those?
No, but I guess I'm about to enjoy it in about 3 seconds.
No.
You farted on me online at the cafe yesterday.
Oh, my God. Where did I fart on you?
At the coffee place.
That's right. You were standing behind me by mistake. I farted on you. You said it smelled terrible. And it was one of those farts that comes out and then it doubles. Like it just got momentum to it. Like it.
Not to segue from your story, but do you know the new thing about farts is that smelling farts might be good for your health? Did you read this? Did you hear this?
He has a joke that a girl's going to fart in my face. So I had about 10,000 people tweet to me, look at this, man, Flavor's trying to help you.
And he don't want to let the chick fart in his mouth.
Finish your story. Finish your story.
About what?
What was he talking about a second ago? He was going on somewhere.
Oh, where he farted on me.
Oh, at the coffee shop, a nice Marie tea.
You see what a fart does? It just breaks up the momentum of everything, right?
It's delicious. Let me give some shout out. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Well, actually, I was gonna change the subject a second and ask you and tell you that I think one of the most ridiculous things that I've ever heard. I don't watch the Kardashians, okay? I mean, big ass in a sex tape, easily released, fine. And granted, I give her all the credit, her mom all the credit. Go make money, do what you do. But this really is too much. The rich just keep getting richer. Have you heard about what's happening with this app, Kim Kardashian Hollywood?
No.
All right. Somebody came out with an app, Kim Kardashian Hollywood. It's currently being downloaded, and what you do is you download it for free. I feel like I'm going to sell another 100,000 apps by talking about this, but
not with this audience.
Okay, good.
Thank God.
So you basically download it, and the girls, whoever downloads it, you pay money to dress up and buy the clothes and rub shoulders with celebrities. It's an app. See, it's a cartoon.
They're paying for their characters in the app.
The characters in the app.
to wear clothes, but they're paying real money.
So it's currently making $700,000 a day. She gets 50%. Right? Her mother's probably going to get the usual 20% cut. Her take from this right now is estimated at $45 million. They say 90, but she'll get 90 million. She'll get like half if you do the numbers. She's going to equate her total net worth with this game. The rich just get richer, but it's all about who is getting richer. It's unbelievable.
Who's fucking giving her $700,000? I want to know who the fuck is ordering this shit from fucking Kim Kardashian. Who's at home right now going, you know what? I want to dress up.
And it's not even for them to wear.
I want to dress up the retarded brother.
It's an app. They're playing on their phone. It's a fantasy app. It's like when you go to Mafia Wars on Facebook, and I'm coming out with MMA Federation, which is the social game app for MMA. I've got a team of developers working in London right now. I don't know if you know this, Joey, but I've made 3 video games called Ready to Rumble Boxing, and I've done a lot of stuff in the video game industry. But my game comes out in March of next year. You ever see Mafia Wars on Facebook?
Yeah.
This is MMA meets Mafia Wars in Farmville. It's a total thing. We're going to be signing fight teams. We already have signed fight teams from all over the world coming in. None of the UFC fighters because they're exclusive to the EA game, which is a great game. The UFC game that just came out by EA. But this is not a video game where you're pressing buttons and throwing punches. You totally become immersed in the world of MMA. And you pay for things to power up. It's free to get it. But you'll be able to train with American top team fighters. You'll be able to train with the AKA. You'll be able to train with Fierce, who trains George St. Pierre. And you'll be able to get in their world of videos. And I can go on and on and on. And I've got a team of literally 15 developers in London with my partner who's in London creating this game, and we just hired on as one of our VPs the man that created Fight Night for EA and Call of Duty and all. And it's one of my big projects, Joey. I'm very
What's your
proud
favorite
of
game, cocksucker?
I've gotten immersed in all of them, but that's the thing. I didn't have the money to be paying to get up, so I'd like they make you wait like 6 days to play, and so all those games are tough. They get addicting though.
Lee,
What's your favorite game?
what's
Give
your
me one
favorite
game.
fucking What's with the
That jelly splash thing was fun.
what jelly?
Like you flip the characters and you break. I don't know.
Jimmy, you like box? You like fighting games at all?
Oh yeah, I'm actually waiting to get when I get the PS4 so I can play the new UFC game.
Why don't you tell me? I would have brought you a copy for gosh sakes.
Oh, I don't know.
EA just said, because I was in the game and they nicely sent me a half dozen copies.
Oh, that's cool.
I got an Xbox. They sent me PS4s.
You know, when all that shit came out, by the time those things came out, Nintendo, by that time I was already hijacking trucks and shit.
Yeah, you're gonna sit home and play a video game.
Fuck you, I was living it.
Did
I
you-
have time for. I swear, how fucking crazy is that?
These kids, these adults, even myself. I mean, when I first came out with Ready to Rumble Boxing, did you ever play that game, Jimmy, back in 2000?
His name is.
It's Lee, but that's okay.
What was that?
Oh, my name is Lee.
Oh, why do I call you Jimmy? It's Lee. Wait, am I
Who
saying?
gives a fuck?
Why didn't you tell me for the whole damn show? I'm saying Jimmy for God's sake. Jesus, Lee.
Fuck it, Lee.
You are high if you can't even
Who gives
acknowledge
a
your
fuck?
own name.
The
He
first
kept looking
time.
at me.
This is why I gotta friggin' write them down on 3x5 cards when I work, so I don't forget a name. Now I'm embarrassed. You know what? I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna mail you just for that, for being a dick on this show and not knowing your name. I'm sending you a UFC game for your PS4.
Thank you very
All
much.
right. Will you give him my email, Joey, and email me your address?
Jimmy,
I'm
get it.
sending it to you. Okay.
Jimmy, get it
Well,
together.
the first time I thought I was high and I missed it. But then,
Lee, I've said Jimmy about.
He ain't mad at you, though. He ain't
I don't care. The
We were
second
we
time
were loving
he
it. We
was
were
he
loving
was
it.
dying laughing. So,
I have to be the worst friggin' guest on the show ever.
No,
Ever.
This is tremendous. You called him fucking Jimmy. He's done. He's Jimmy from now on.
All right, well, you're going to be playing UFC next week. Just give me an email with your address,
thank you
okay?
so much.
Let me give some shout outs real quick. First off, 200 fucking episodes. You guys, I love you with all my fucking heart. The whole Death Squad family, Death Squad Nashville, Death Squad Harlem, Death Squad Australia, Death Squad fucking deep in the jungle in the Philippines, whatever. Rick Moncrief, Simon Holloway, Aku Verapanian, Jay Dominguez, Luca Banana, Sandman, Luciano Soprano, Lauren, fucking Jay. I love all you cocksuckers. Constantine, Leon, Waterboxer. You guys are the backbone of the organization. God bless you for being around, cocksuckers, and for hanging out and giving us love. We did the live podcast like with Miss Pat last night. You savages showed up. People were smoking dope, shooting heroin out in the fucking parking lot. We loved it. Some chick got fucked out there. She was bleeding from the mud. It was tremendous.
Why did I come on the night of the nuns?
Because we got to come here. I can't have you up there with those fucking savages. If you missed the live podcast last night, some fucking cool. I gave out some free vapor pens from the company. Fucking Vapor. I love those guys. They said, that's a good vapor pen. I got to bring one in here tomorrow and smoke that motherfucker. That's a good one because you could buy the weaver and put it in there too. We could have been puffing right now, Lee. You didn't think about it.
How many hits you get off one of those cartridges?
It depends. The vapor, at the place I go to now, they sell the vapor for $25. It's a half a gram. I go on a trip, it lasts me 2 days, the little vapor. 2 days.
Well, you also smoke a lot more than most people.
Yeah,
probably.
than most people, so that's pretty good for two.
Probably get a week
You
for
know,
someone else.
I would think if you have one of those, I'm sorry to interrupt your shout outs, but if you have one of those vapor pens in your pocket and you like smoking, pot, how can you not take a hit off that every half hour? How can you have any discipline when that thing is sitting in your pocket
Please,
like
if
that?
I'm on a plane, I'm hitting that motherfucker like a savage. Because it goes right down. There's a vapor, there's a vacuum on the plane. People don't know. I remember one time
You smoking on the plane?
Oh, fuck yeah. I got video of me blowing in a JFK.
Don't use the term blowing on JFK.
No, I'm sorry.
That didn't sound good, Joey.
No. The fucking vapor pen item, now I don't do it. I don't care no more because the vapor pen gets you high in the morning. Mm-hmm. After that, it doesn't really get me high throughout the day. I need to smoke in the morning to get the party started.
That's because you smoke a lot.
I stopped because of jiu-jitsu. I had to stop.
Oh. So you don't smoke before you do jiu-jitsu?
No.
He doesn't smoke at all. Well, every once in a while.
I smoked last night when I got home. I smoked a little bit. This weed store I got some shit now, and they got these 2 top shelves. They smell okay. You know what, man? I'm doing these breathing exercises and stuff, so the breathing's getting better at jiu-jitsu. I'm working on them every day. I'm holding my nose. I'm counting to 60. You know me, Lee Syatt. I'm a fucking. You gotta shoot me with a bow and arrow 10 times. What the fuck, guys? Everything all right? Everybody, what the fuck, Lee? Look at the shape of you tonight.
Yeah, this is 4 days in a row.
You didn't. I can't believe you didn't collect stamps as a kid. You look like the type of kid collected something.
I wish I did.
Yarmulke, pickle jars, fucking something. I want to give a shout out to the people who are making people beautiful. On it, from Mike Dolce to Joe Rogan to Lee Syatt. Beautiful motherfuckers. You understand me? If it's not the strong bone, it's the shroom tech. It's not a vitamin. It's a way of life. It's optimization. It's making you better at what the fuck. Every time I go to that jiu-jitsu now, I take 2 or 3 of those shroom techs. You got to see me doing those hip escapes like a fucking savage.
Hey,
like
let me give a call out to On It. Joe got me some of the Alpha Brain, which I used not this year but last year at the World Series. Let me tell you something. That stuff's pretty good. I give Honest got some good products. They sent me some nice stuff. I like On It.
No. Even Dolce's in bed with them. Do me a favor, man. You want to just snoop around? Go to onit.com. Go snoop around. See what they got. They got kettlebells. They got ropes. You want to hang yourself? Get a fucking rope. I don't give a fuck. But they got great supplements. They got great stuff for you, from the hemp force protein to the shroom tech. I mean, they got what's the sugar they got Sylvia. They got the testosterone replacement. Guys, go and read. Whatever I tell you, I'm gonna fuck it up. All I know is the shit works. Go to onit.com. Before you order, press in
Church.
CHURCH. Get 10% off. Get on the list. Get on the Stay On It program. Get it delivered to your house at the first of the month like a fucking soldier. Why fuck around? You gotta leave. You gotta go down to the vitamin store and stand there like a fucking bumpy on the 3rd. Fuck that shit. Communism's over. Elvis is dead. I don't feel so good myself. You don't need to leave the fucking house. The other day I'm trying to put this thing together. I told my wife we're eating lunch. She goes, hold on, I'll order it. Boom, boom. She goes, Amazon will get it there Friday. What's today?
Thursday.
It got there today. We didn't have to fucking leave the house. That's how quick these motherfuckers are delivering. Delivery is up to a different level now. That's what everybody's. I didn't know what they were going to attack.
You know why?
Why?
Because they're on it.
They're on it.
They're on it.
Look at this shit.
Joey, I do a lot of things in life, but my best thing I say I'm best at is I'm best as a marketer. That name On It, I love that name.
I love
that name.
They don't fuck around.
Yeah.
That's pure marketing for a tremendous product. Now, you want to talk about a tremendous product? You want me to tell you what I tried the other day?
What?
The trail mix with the dark chocolate and the berries.
That sounds
Smoking. Naturebox.com. Throwing heat at the motherfucker. Nutritionally approved snacks. You sit there all day in your fucking office on your ass. Your ass smells from fucking eating potato chips and Snickers bars. You don't need that aggravation. Go to naturebox.com. See what they got to offer. Lee, count it off. From the black and white granola to they got stuff.
They got sourdough cheddar pretzels, sriracha cashews, South Pacific plantain chips, chili lime pistachios,
spicy pistachios,
caramel pretzel pops. Oh, that sounds good. Everything bagel sticks, baked sweet potato fries.
Can anybody make pistachios in a bag out of the shell? Does anybody do that?
They make them with the bag, with the fucking shell, and they make them spicy.
But
This Nature Box is delicious. I wouldn't bullshit you.
No, I just asked. No, I'm sure it is delicious.
Delicious.
I like pistachios, but
The shells are tough.
the shells are tough. Has anybody ever made a bag of pistachios out of the shells? Have you ever seen that?
No.
Just the shells.
No.
No.
Just the nuts.
No, the thing you eat inside the shell, the seed, whatever you want to call it. Has anybody ever made a pistachio product where you're getting a bag of the actual stuff you eat? Because you don't eat the shells, do you?
Depends.
Find out how high you are?
Depends on what type of teeth I got breaking that week. If the Armenians working at the dental office, I don't eat the fucking shells. You don't eat the shells, you eat the fucking thing. But see, now they're cracked, like they're really tight. You gotta get your tooth in there and your fang. Fuck that. Nature Box puts it in an oven and it cracks open like a fucking clitoris. When you lick that motherfucker, it just opens up in the morning like that, and the one wing opens up, but the other one stutters, just like that. That's what Nature Box does. So you don't have to fuck around. You're watching Law and Order. You just stick your hand there, take a thing out, bam, and they crack right open. That's my point.
Look, if I can find pistachios that are as good as a fine clitoris, I think I'm going to buy about a case.
NatureBox got them. Go to naturebox.com, whether it's pistachios, whether it's a black and white granola, you're going to fucking love it. And you're going to get how much percentage off?
50%.
50% on your first order. Go to naturebox.com, press in.
Joey,
Joey, 50% off your first order. Joey, not 10, not 20, not 30, 50 motherfucking percent off your first order. Where are you going to get that type of action? Nobody takes care of you like the Church of What's Happening Now. Speaking of the Church of What's Happening Now, when I went to San Jose, I saw my little fucking cabanos from naileditlife.com. They gave me some fucking vapors, a little wax. I took care of my friends, but they also gave me a little present. They gave me a new product they got, the peanut brittle. Did I tell you about the peanut brittle?
you said I was going to get some, but then it...
Well, next week when they come down, we got to get you some peanut brittle. I saw the devil and the devil's cousin. I told them both to get off the fucking plane. They must have taken a parachute off and they fucking left me alone. But that's Nailed It Life. Whether it's the gummy bears, whether it's the peanut brittle, whether it's the vapor pen, the number one vapor pen out there in the market, tremendous guarantee. If you call these guys, they'll call you back or they'll answer the phone. What the fuck, Lee? They'll call you back.
If you call them, they'll call you back.
They'll call you back. That's customer service. I don't deal with fucking dumpies. If I got somebody fucking sponsoring me, it's because when you call them, they give you the respect that you deserve and they call you back. And they don't put you on the phone with some Hindu. I can't no hablo. You don't need that aggravation. You got shit to do. All right. On it, naturebox.com, Nailed It Life. Support these people. It's our 200 podcast. We want to go straight up to fucking 400. Lee, can I get a little water for you,
sure.
Joey, if you don't mind, my brother? I'm over here fucking seeing
Jimmy Lee, can I have one?
Yes.
Thank
Jimmy
you.
Lee. That's his name. That's his new fucking name, Jimmy Lee. Why people bother me for, Lee? Trying to sell me computers and shit? I don't bother nobody. Buff. You
Yes.
gotta close this motherfucker out. Give me some closing arguments. Whatever you're trying to tell me. What's your message on life?
You know,
I know you're a busy guy.
I'm a busy guy, but that's my own choice. Maybe I'm a bit of an overachiever or workaholic, whatever. But I got family to take care of, and we're all just trying to live and do life as best we can. But I'm going to say it again, Joey. To me, in life, I believe we're all created equal. I respect everybody for what they respect. I'm not a religious guy. When I tell you God bless you, it's because whoever your God is, I hope he, she, it, whatever form they are in, blesses you because that's your choice in life. I treat everybody with respect, and I like to be treated the same, and I have no time for a-holes. And a very simple theory about life. And I just want to be happy. And I love helping people be happy. I love seeing people happy. I get tears in my eyes when people spin the lotto wheel and win 100,000 or $1 million, knowing that it's changing or helping their lives. It's not going in my pocket. It's going in theirs. I'm the happiest guy in the world. You know, it's just the way I am.
You've always been a gentleman to me. Your brother's always been a gentleman. I remember I saw him at the premiere and you said to me, just say hello. I don't bother nobody. I'm going to go over there and drop your name. I know Brucey, Buffer. Fuck that shit. When it's time, I'll see you somewhere. But you've always been a great guy. And you know what? I started going to UFC when I was fucked up, you know? And Joe would let me walk around and stuff and talk to people. And everybody's always been great. Everybody's always been great to me. How
and
are
everybody's
you? You're thirsty. Can we get you something? Are you okay? You know, and that's always really nice.
Well, it's that kind of attitude and the approachability of everybody from Dana White at the top down to the fighters and everybody else, including Joe, who's great at it too. And I like to think I am too, very courteous to our fans, because without them, we're nothing. And it's like that approachability, which you don't get in the NBA, the NFL, the NHL, with all respect to these fine athletes themselves. You can't get LeBron James' autograph as he walks through the lobby, but Chuck Liddell, you know, in a heartbeat, he'll stop and sign 50 of them, you know. And I'm not saying anything wrong with LeBron. It's just the nature of the sport. So the approachability in the sport of MMA, and especially the UFC, which is MMA, I think has really been a big reason why it's grown exponentially so fast, you know, and so big. We're looking at a sport that was created in 1993 in this country and has entered mainstream. In my lifetime, I've never seen anything do that. It's the first time. So I'm very proud and honored and humbled every day I wake up, and you know, I know that I'm got a UFC coming down that weekend or whatever. I take great pride in what I do, and I love working for the Fertittas and Dana, and I love working with Joe. He's a great guy. You know, I've been working alongside Joe in the Octagon for 16 years or however long it's been, and you know, I think we should all just be very thankful for all these experiences that we've been able to receive and able to enjoy.
One thing that in life you get thrown all these fucking things every week, you know, and you got to come up with fucking dough. It's not when you and I were growing up. You know, you went to see a Sixer game for $12, and you got a hot dog for 50 fucking cents. You want to go to a Laker game? It's $250. It's $300, and that's without the car and the fucking steak and the blow and the fucking broad and the makeup and all the bullshit that comes with it.
Think about the average family income of like around $51,000 a year. How can they afford that?
How
A baseball
they gonna afford
game,
this shit?
a Dodger game for you to take your son to, your parking, everything. You're talking a couple $100.
I was born at a great time, and I was fortunate that I got to go to everything, even hockey games. I went to Islander games. I went to Ranger games as a kid for $15, $8, $20. I go to a Laker game. Like I said, I've been blessed to win those tickets that time. And I couldn't believe the tickets were $248 if I would have paid for them, and they were all the way the fuck up there. But my point being, if you ever have a chance to, I don't care if you got to follow Dana and win the tickets, take them out of the fucking garbage can when he fucking meets you at Starbucks. What an experience. What an experience, no matter what level you're in at the UFC, because you don't know who's walking past you at what time at those things.
No.
The music, your heartbeat. And if you're lucky and you win floor seats or the other seats, if you watch Buffer, if you watch the black referee, Herb Dean, if you watch these guys, in between fights, you guys are shaking hands with people. As the fights are switching, the fight camps are switching, one is walking out, you're out there shaking hands, hugging people. Mario Yamasaki's out there. Everybody's out there hugging motherfuckers. Dana comes in, it's like Elizabeth Dana walking into the business. Everybody fucking claps and stands up. And all of a sudden, it's live, and it goes to 3 different extremes, and you see it. That doesn't happen at a baseball game. At a fucking baseball game, you sit there to the 7th inning, some fat fuck gets up and says his national anthem. I got to stretch, and I eat one of those communist hot dogs, and I go home, and I'm set a minus 300 with the fucking hot dog, and I got to stop for fucking 22 Alka-Seltzers because I'm bleeding from my foot from the diabetes from the fucking hot dog. It really is a great experience, and I see you guys work, and I've learned that it's a different time now. When I was a kid, I was a fan. I always say this. When I was a kid, I was a fan of Julius Erving. I would go to the Garden, or we would drive down to the Spectrum, and I would stand there and go, look at fucking Julius Erving.
I had the pleasure to have dinner with him, or rather drinks. God. I had the pleasure to have drinks with him, with my brother Michael. I had him announce the Bulls and the Utah Jazz final game in the championships when Jordan was sick in the first half, scored 7 points, and came out and scored over 42 in the first half. In the second half, scored over 42 to win the game in the series. And that night, we partied with Charles Barkley and Julius Erving. I was in awe of Julius. I mean, I don't get awestruck. I don't get awestruck. But man, this was Julius Erving. This was Erving. And I was like, oh my God, I was blown away.
But you think of how fast the times have changed. Now the people that are fans of Chuck Liddell could talk to him on Twitter.
Yeah.
If Chuck Liddell's really cool, he'll talk to you on Twitter. Chris Cornell will talk to you on Twitter. Julius Erving, I follow him on Twitter, and he tweets. He fucking tweets. I've hit him up a couple times, never hit me up. But fucking think how many hits Julius Erving gets. So I don't expect anything. But just the fact that we're in more contact with the people around us. So now I pay for the ticket. I sit at the UFC. I'm not expecting nothing. And, honey, look who's walking towards me. Michael Buffer and Herb fucking Dean. I'm going to hug them both and get a picture.
Wait, Michael was there?
I'm just...
Is that getting back at me because I called you Jimmy?
No, I'm sorry. Oh, my God. The fucking reef is killing me. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I don't think...
Hey, I'm his manager, man. What's he doing there?
Jimmy, you're fucking me up. And there's Bruce Buffer with a suit on, hugging people, taking pictures with women. And there's Uriah Faber right behind him. That doesn't happen.
No.
When you go to a Knick game, if fucking Carmelo Anthony's hurt, he doesn't walk up to you when they call a timeout and hug you and take a picture with you.
Joey, it doesn't happen at boxing either. At boxing events, you don't see that kind of interaction with the people, that are part of the boxing event. You don't see them doing that. It's an amazing thing. But I remember in the old days when it was like crickets. We'd walk through hotel lobbies and it was crickets. Nobody was doing anything. I mean, we are here because of obviously the great leadership and management of Zuffa and Lorenzo and Dana and Lorenzo's brother Frank Fertitta. And all the great team they have together. That's all a wonderful, wonderful given. But I get back to it, the approachability and the fans. Without the fans, we are nothing. And I remember when I was 4 years old, and in Philadelphia I was at the Marriott Hotel, and this tall black man was there, who I recognized because I was watching Boxing Out of the Womb with my dad, and his name at that time was Cassius Clay, right? So my brother Brian and I, who was 6, we walk up to him, we say hi. He spent 5 minutes with us, talking to us, right? I never forgot that for the rest of my life. And I hold that dear right here. That's the way I feel every time I see a kid that asks for an autograph, much less an adult. They paid for that ticket. They deserve that experience. And unless they're disrespectful or ask me for an autograph in the bathroom, which is man law, you don't do that, take the time. And if you're selling T-shirts, if you have sponsors, these are the people that are going to buy your shirt. These are the people that are going to buy your product. You know, hone your business. Be a gentleman, be respectful, and give these fans the fan experience they deserve.
How many fucking people come up to you when you have your dick in your hand and ask you if they can take a picture?
On a very, like, as an example, I would say on an average night, on show night, between going to the event and then when I get back to the hotel on the way up to my room, I would have to say that I easily sign and take in the area of probably 200 to 500 different pictures and autographs. You know, it can be that way in Vegas. In Vegas, when it's jammed, on the average, at least 100 or more. You know what happens.
When Lee's in Israel, he takes 5,000 to 2,000 pictures a fucking day. He's a big star.
None of us have any privacy in Vegas. I mean, you know, Joe, myself. I mean, you know, it's you go to dinner, you get there, and I can't walk around Vegas on a UFC weekend like when I'm at Vegas on a non-UFC weekend.
Buff, I'm happy you fucking came in tonight. I'm happy you came in for the 200th episode. I'm happy we're still here making it happen.
I really enjoyed it. I'm going to have you on my podcast.
I know. I didn't even know you did a podcast till tonight. I read it, but I don't think he does it.
I'm approaching, actually, I think we just did our 200th show. We're just about to do, it's for 4 years now. I try to do it live every Tuesday at 11. Podcast One, which handles Adam Carolla and Steve Austin. They're the number one.
Goldberg.
Yeah, Goldberg just joined their crew.
Yeah.
I just signed a deal with them this week, so my show is going to be on Podcast One now.
Are you going to tape your thing over there?
Pardon me?
Are you going to tape the podcast there?
No, they're good, because I do it on SureDog.com is where I'm live every Tuesday, and we made a deal where we will deliver the show to them, but they want me to go do it over there. I'll do a few shows there, but right now I'm 10 minutes away from my home. Yeah. You know, that's 2 hours out of the day, but I'll be doing shows there too. It's going to be a very wonderful experience. I'm very excited about this. I think we'll be going on Podcast One within the next 4 weeks.
Well, I'm happy you came on. I love you to death, man. Thank you.
Thanks, Joey. Much love back to you. Really appreciate it.
Bad motherfucker. Thank you for you guys. The 200th episode of the Church of What's Happening Now. I want to thank On It from day one. I want to thank Nature's Box, Nailed It Life. I want to thank fucking Hulu Plus. Who else, Lee? Drop it for me.
Nailed It Life, Hulu Plus.
Dollar Shave Club. All our sponsors for always giving it. Escape Pod Tank. I love you guys over there. Jeremy, I love you guys. Have a great weekend. The live podcast will be up this weekend sometime. Don't fucking ask. Thank you for watching. Stay black. Buff, who loves you?
Joey.
Throw Jimmy a kiss.
This is for you, Lee. I don't know if I could throw a kiss at a man, but it was more mental than anything else. But
I felt it.
Joey, thanks so much for having our program. For all your listeners out there, thank you for listening, and I'm going to get you on my show. I want to have you down.
Thank you, brother.
Now that the show's over, remember to go to naturebox.com and order great tasting healthy snacks.
Shit to do tonight.
Snack smarter with healthy and delicious treats like everything bagel chips and baked sweet potato fries. Support this podcast and get 50% off of your first order. Go to naturebox.com, promo code Joey. That's naturebox.com, promo code Joey. And thank you to On It and naileditlife.com.